We're back. I know, again. And this is a 2 hour and 9 minute meeting. Timestamps will be below, so you don't have to be tortured with it. Let's just get into it.
Good evening and welcome
McCormick
to
with
our
her
July 18th
sunglasses
Public
again.
Works Committee meeting.
Geez, she looks like
I will begin with
crap.
introductions of my counselors on the front row.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Derek Cahill, District 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Josh Bain, District 20.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Mallory, District 25.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica McCormick, District 16.
Funny enough, McCormick is running for state senate versus going against Mike Young. McCormick is the worst. I mean, she's blocked me on Facebook. She refuses to return any of my emails, along with everybody on that whole council. When I emailed everybody about how Jesse Brown wanted to send people out there to kick my ass. Guess what? The commies are limp-wristed, fedora-tipping cowards. They're not going to do anything.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, colleagues. Andy Nielsen, District 14, East Side.
I think this guy might have married his sister, too. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nick Roberts, District 4.
Has no full-time job and lives with his parents. Hey, Carlino.
Good evening, Chairwoman Jones. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side, serving the towns of Claremont and Speedway.
No one cares. Are you high? She's got to be drunk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Boots, District 3, Washington, Lawrence Townships.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor Jared Evans, representing District 17 on the far west side.
Has no full-time job and lives with his parents as well. So just to count them out, Jared Evans right here and Nick Roberts have no full-time jobs and both live with their parents.
And I'm Kristen Jones, serving District 18. We have two guest counselors with us this evening as well, if they would like to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jesse Brown, District 13, Near East and Near North Side.
Communist, socialist, and he smells awful too, like actually awful.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to be a guest at the committee tonight. I'm John Barth, representing District 7.
With consent, I would like to move Proposal 224 to the beginning of the agenda. Consent. Proposal 224-2024 establishes the commitment of the city and the county to eliminate traffic injuries and fatalities, establishing a Vision Zero task force, and commits to developing and adopting and implementing a Vision Zero action plan.
Oh, lovely.
We will begin.
Hey, just to play spoiler maker on this whole thing, the city does not have the money to actually go through this plan. Even Jesse Brown admitted to it. So how are you going to stop it? Here's a good idea. Enforce the law. That's literally all you have to do.
Begin with our presentation.
Madam Chair, I will kick things off from here, and Councilor Nielsen and I will have a PowerPoint to begin the evening. I want to
Jolly
thank,
Rancher,
Zach
Jolly
Anderson
Rancher
from DPW for his assistance with the IT to make us be successful with demonstrating this tonight. Just by way of background, I'm not going to reset the stage on the pedestrian safety crisis that we have in the city that has been presented and discussed many times. I know from looking around the room, there are a number of very informed and active advocates who are very tuned into and aware of what we're facing. And so this initiative is another and a very, very important big step in trying to address this from the council level in close partnership with the advocacy community and the Hogshead administration. I do want to note that I hear from my constituents daily with concerns about pedestrian safety. I often cite the intersection of 38th and Illinois as an area that is particularly acute for many years. I've talked about it especially because it's a hub between multiple other neighborhoods and a close gateway to the regional
There's
park
some
called Tarkington Park, and I have a acute sense of concern, especially for folks in Crown Hill who would like to cross the street safely and take their kids to the park. And what I've seen in the last several years is several people being hit there, cyclists, several pedestrians, and I think about them every single day. So what can we do to make sure we're continuing to address this? Is to bring forward a Vision Zero approach.
Just to let you know, basically what this will do, because 38th Street has 3 lanes. And what Vision Zero will do is that it will reduce it down to 2 lanes, and then it will put sidewalks on one side, if they're not there already, and then a bike lane on the other side, or they'll just share the same kind of what's like in downtown where they're just split off. But what will happen is that you will have much worse traffic congestion. I mean, like, unbelievably bad. We already see this now over by me on Michigan towards White River. And what the whole point of it is that, well, you know, if we want to reduce crashes, we want to reduce the speed. To reduce the speed, you have to have less car movement. How do you get less car movement? Less lanes. But yet, we already have road rage problems on the highway where people are getting shot. There was just something on the southeast side the other day, and guy got shot in the face because there was a road rage incident. And what's going to be worse now? Because of people like him, because of smelly communists like Jesse Brown, the road rage will get worse and people will get more violent. But because John Barth is an out-of-touch millionaire, he doesn't understand the whole game.
We don't have to have this in our city. We can reconfigure and rethink about how we do our business when it comes to everything that surrounds the concept of mobility around the city. Like the slide deck behind me says, having a safe, healthy, equitable mobility for all is the key.
None of these people ever want to have a debate about it, though, at all. I would challenge John Barth and Jesse. By the way, Jesse Brown refuses to meet me in person because he's a fucking coward and a giant communist pussy.
I think something that's really meaningful and important before I jump into this is that something that is really foundational about Vision Zero is that it is a multidisciplinary approach that presumes, when we get to Councilor Nielsen's part and he walks through the components of the proposal 224, you'll see that one of the most important elements here is a task force that is 15 people that represents a wide swath of folks who are passionate about this issue and have expertise on it. And the aim there is to have support in bringing so many different people together to get behind one plan to start working towards this
Look
vision,
at that. Gibson is here.
Of having
and his kid is
zero,
messing
traffic
around already.
fatalities. Having everybody work together across advocacy, across individuals, across the administration, across elected officials, and then have everybody pulling from the same
That's
end of the
enough.
rope to
No wonder
implement
this
that
meeting is
plan
2 hours long.
is really what Vision Zero is all about. So with that,
What it is
that by way
about
of
is
introduction, I'm just
limiting
going to
people's
go through
movement.
a few slides talking about Vision Zero, what it is, where it comes from. Then Councilor Nielsen will talk about the proposal specifically and what the elements are of it. And I do want to take a minute before I dig into that, just to state again how important the partnership with the advocacy community, the council, and the Hogshead administration has been, because all those elements have to work together in lockstep to make this be successful. And so Councilor Nielsen and I started this journey in not the next day after the election last year, but in November, and working with Director Herger, and I appreciate his willingness to talk, and we took his input and his guidance really seriously and made some adjustments to our planning. Have had meetings with the advocacy folks, listening carefully to them as well, and if we don't have those components, we don't have a plan. So next slide. Thank you, Zach. What is Vision Zero? So this is a strategy to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injuries. It started in Europe in the 90s and has successfully been implemented across Europe. 45 communities have made the commitment. 90 local and regional action plans have been completed, including Hoboken, New Jersey, which is always held up as the gold standard. And I've reached out to them to try to meet with the mayor and others. But more closely aligned with us in a city that is designed more similarly to ours is Columbus, Ohio, and I had the opportunity to go there last year or 2 years ago and spend some time with some of the folks who have designed and implemented their Vision Zero program, and that's something that really inspired me and got my wheels turning, that this is something we could do here in Indianapolis as well. Councilor Nielsen and I actually have time booked with some leaders from Columbus soon to talk through their implementation and how it's been going. So really learning from what's come before us is something that's important.
All right. Hoboken, New Jersey has a total land of 1.97 square miles. Total population in, this is actually kind of funny. Total population in 2020 was 60,000. Their estimate right now is 57,000. So it actually has less people. Indianapolis, total square area, state capital, consolidated city council is 367. Let's just call it 368 square miles. Population, state capital and consolidated, is 887. I think it's actually less than that. Or it might actually be more than that. So first off, comparing apples to oranges as usual, because John Barth is an idiot, Jesse Brown's a moron, and Andy Nielsen's a clown.
Okay, a new vision and perspective using a safe system approach that we'll talk about that recognizes that people make mistakes and we need to plan for that, and a multidisciplinary approach with diverse.
People make mistakes. Hey, oh my God, I can't even with these people.
Problem. And I've been talking about that.
I don't want to
since I
make
first
this
started
video
talking.
any longer than it has
That's
to.
the heart of everything that we're trying to do here. It's essentially a fundamentally different approach to traffic safety.
I'm sure.
Whoops, I went the wrong way.
They're preventive now.
Thank you, Zach. And so this slide just is a visual representation of a traditional approach versus Vision Zero. I won't go through all of them. I think one of the things, probably the most important thing, is the very first bullet there. With a traditional approach,
Same thing
death.
with Columbus, 226 miles compared to what did I say before? 3-something? Yeah, 368. It's still apples to oranges. 100 square miles.
Are inevitable versus a Vision Zero approach that traffic deaths are preventable. In the way I think about it, and I've talked about it for years in this chamber and in neighborhood meetings, is that we want to design our neighborhoods. We want to have an IMPD enforcement approach. We want to think about all the elements that go into traffic safety in a way that makes sure our neighborhoods are safe for our families when they're walking to school. I have the great fortune of representing a district that has a lot of neighborhood schools where families walk to school.
Do you want to know why? Because his neighborhood is loaded with money. That's why.
I work closely with leaders at IPS 70, and thanks to DPW's partnership, they recently got a grant to help continue having more connectivity for all the folks walking to School 70 from the neighborhoods that surround it. But really making sure that folks who are walking, biking, spending time in their neighborhoods, going to the College Avenue Library, whatever it may be, can do it without
I believe he
worrying
lives in
about,
Butler, where the average home price is $319,000.
Having
By the way, yeah.
an impact with the vehicle and having a dangerous situation. We can assume these traffic deaths are preventable, and we can do our business with that assumption. Moving on.
Gibson's kid is messing around again.
There's an image of what a safe system approach is. You can see all the elements that go to it. We're going to talk about it some more as the time goes on, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. But I think you can see, thinking about it, layering on all these important elements is really important. And something that is really critical, I've mentioned how important having a multidisciplinary team working on this, and this ordinance creates that.
Which creates
But
more,
also,
you have to
it's
have
not
the money
just-
for that.
We have DPW taking the lead here today, and we're in the Public Works Committee, but let's not forget, the entirety of the city enterprise is really important in this proposal and how this should go forward, because every component of the city and how we do business really matters in bringing together the systems approach to addressing these issues. And so that's why you see in the ordinance that Councilor Nielsen will talk about, we specifically reference multiple other departments in the city for having a role in this. Next one, thank you, and the next slide will be my last one before I turn it over to Councilor Nielsen. And I just want to mention a couple things. So these are all the components that go in Division 0. All of them are really are really important. I've hit on most of them in my comments to date. I want to just hit on a couple more. Political commitment is so important, and this doesn't work unless there's a high level of political commitment from the organization that's putting it forward, and that's what you're seeing here tonight, the City Council hearing a proposal for this. I'm honored that we have 10 total, Councilor Boots, thanks to Councilor Boots, we have 11. We have 11 co-sponsors for this proposal as of tonight, so the political commitment is there, but it has to be maintained, and that's really important. Multidisciplinary leadership, we've talked to in detail, and then the action plan. And then last thing I wanted to mention that I haven't so far is the transparency, and that's something that is really important to me. Part of this process, going through the political process, having the multidisciplinary team, the Vision Zero Task Force, and then ultimately having the action plan is about transparency, because having that team do its business in public, having the opportunity for advocates and everyday neighbors to come and weigh in on what they think the priorities should be, and then solidifying that plan, publishing it, and then annually during the budget process, prioritizing the budget to connect to the priorities of the Vision Zero plan.
Dude,
all
what
of
is
that has
going
to happen
on in there?
in public, and everyone has a role. I keep mentioning the advocacy community because it's so important, especially when this will exist as will exist if I get the support of the committee tonight. When this exists with the support of the committee tonight, having that transparency, it gives all of us a singular way of, again, using this phrase, pulling from the same end of the rope. So having those priorities solidified across so many different groups and individuals, and holding us accountable for helping it come to fruition. With that, I will end my comments and turn it over to Councilor Nielsen.
Next slide. Thank you, Chairman Barth, and appreciate your leadership on this issue, as I'll get to in a second. On the next slide, this
Jerk off.
builds on existing work that you particularly have championed and pushed for over the years, and this is just another step in addressing what is a solvable problem to emphasize the points you've made about problematic areas in your district. Unfortunately, District 14 knows and is home to problematic intersections, be it Washington and Ritter, 21st and Franklin. Just last week, Kitley and Washington Street joined an unfortunate list of intersections and streets that are simply unsafe for all users. And Vision Zero's approach, the approach we're going down tonight.
I would debate the fuck out of this guy. Yeah, you see me, you fucking twerp, and I would manhandle the shit out of you in a debate about Vision Zero.
Again, should we get the support of the committee and full council on August 12th, will acknowledge that that is preventable and it's unacceptable. So, again, appreciate the strong support from councilors, colleagues. This is a bipartisan proposal, which I think emphasizes
only Mike Dilka's on it.
that this is also, again, a solvable problem. I come from a policy background, and I'm really motivated by Vision Zero's
he
approach
also has no
because
full-time job
it takes
either.
a systematic, a data-driven, and an outcome-based approach to what can seem like a really complicated problem. And I think when we talk about eliminating all traffic fatalities, eliminating crashes involving serious bodily injury.
How stupid do you have to be to think that you're going to eliminate all traffic fatalities? This is the same buffoonery that people think that, oh, we're going to end homelessness.
In a geography as large as the city of Indianapolis, Marion County,
You're an idiot.
it's easy to think, how do we get there?
You're
How is that
absolute
even
moron.
possible? Well, Vision Zero in cities like Hoboken, in cities like Columbus, Ohio, in cities like Cincinnati, Ohio, while geographically diverse, have seen success in this approach. So I just want to emphasize that.
Here's a financial
As
coach.
Councilor Barth mentioned, a central component to this proposal is it baselines the goal itself. So again, eliminating all traffic fatalities and serious injury crashes by
this guy's a
2035.
Fed. This guy's a total Fed. Yeah. Okay.
Enhances road safety through infrastructure improvements, policy changes,
That explains
and
why he got
community
all the money that he
engagement
did.
through this action plan. It complements the Complete Streets Ordinance that was passed years ago by this council and builds on efforts this year. You'll remember Proposal 22, which expanded the review of the fatal crash review team and the
I
spring
would bet this
fiscal,
guy
which
10
was-
grand that it doesn't get to eliminate all traffic fatalities. I will bet you 10 grand that this does not happen in 10 years. I will freaking bet you right now.
Proposals 133 and 174 that made investments in tactical urbanism, lending library for tactical urbanism projects, as well as a pilot fund for enhancing school zone safety. So Zach, next slide, please. Getting more into the details, page 2 of the proposal lists the 15 members of this task force. I won't read them all to you, but you know, the city council representation from the departments that you would think should be involved in this, be it Public Works, Business and Neighborhood Services, IMPD, but also including those from outside of the traditional, what we think of as city-county government. You know, the prosecutor's office plays an important role in success here, as does representation from our municipal corporations, public schools, and our local advocacy community and the recreational cycling community. So a 15-member task force may seem a little unwieldy, right? That's a lot of people, and there are plenty more who deserve to be on this task force. But in looking at other cities and how they've created these task forces, in adopting Vision Zero action plan, you know, looking at the cities I mentioned before, these were the members who kind of, we saw similarities across similar task forces and thought this would be the appropriate membership at this time. So again, this action plan that the task force will create will take a safe systems approach. And I want to drill down on that a little bit more because I think, again, as we think about this solvable problem, probably each and every one of us have a component that we really think is the silver bullet in order to be able to fix this issue. But I'll emphasize that if you care about the built environment, if you care about road design, right, if you care about active measures like signage and signals, if you care about...
We already have that. We already have that. And obviously it's not working because morons like you, morons like little twerp Mick Roberts doesn't want to enforce the law. It's literally just that simple.
Safety measures like leading pedestrian intervals. If you care about education, making sure drivers put their dang phones down.
Okay, guess what? There's already a law on that. Is it being enforced? Is it being enforced? That's all I want to know.
Make sure drivers actually read the signs they're driving. And if you care about law enforcement enforcing speed limits.
Oh, hold on.
If you care about even just one of those things.
Then why is it not happening? Why is it not happening in Indianapolis? Guess what, folks? Johnson County, Hamilton County, Hendricks County does not have this problem. Indianapolis, Marion County has this problem. Why? Because Marion County residents are morons. They voted for this idiot, they voted for that idiot, and they keep voting for the same morons that do not want to enforce the law. It's literally that simple.
Vision Zero does that. You don't have to care about all of them. but it requires all of those approaches working in unison over time and a long-term commitment in doing so to get to that achievable goal in 2035. An important component of this as well is that given the amount of coordination both in city government, outside of city government, with our municipal corporations, this proposal also authorizes the city to hire a dedicated cross-departmental Vision Zero administrator who could start as early as next year. Zach? So, where we're at today, we ask for your support of Proposal 224. Should that and when that is hopefully successful, on August 12th, we ask for your support in front of the full council, sending that proposal to the mayor. And then by October 1 of this year, that's detailed on page 3 of the proposal, this will, the task force will have to be created, members appointed, and our first meeting would be held. So with that, I think at this time, we'd be ready for questions. And Madam Chair, I think we do have a few individuals signed up to testify. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. And before we begin with public comment, any questions or comments from our councilors? Chairman Barth?
I know that at your discretion, before public testimony, I know that Director Hergert has a presentation as well.
Yes, go ahead, Director Hergert.
Thank you. I'll wait for Zach to pull up the presentation, but just a quick preamble. I think, councilors, you all know, although some of you are new in this term, prior to taking on this role, I supported you all. I worked as the policy director and CFO for the council. And so just thinking backwards in time,
Shoddy
to the
behind
update
him.
to the Complete Streets Ordinance, the creation of the Fatal Crash Review Team, you know, there are several initiatives that have led to where we are today that, you know, I take some personal pride in working and supporting
What
the
a
efforts
dope.
of the council and
Absolute
interacting
dope.
with the department in my previous role to sort of set the stage for what we're able to hopefully accomplish here this evening and moving through the process into August. So it has been a long road. It has been sort of an iterative process, and it's been the city, both at the council level and administration level, working together with the support of the community. And so I think, you know, we're continuing that path this evening, and that's exciting. So with that, now that our PowerPoint's ready to go, as we prepare to enact Vision Zero in our city, I want to state this is a path we've been long on. Shortly after I started in this role, I began conversations with multiple partners, both internal and external, to learn about various safety efforts and work towards the goal that we're pursuing here this evening. Since that time, I've focused on two things in this role: solving funding challenges, something we haven't yet talked about and we'll need to talk in detail about moving forward, so that we can have better infrastructure. And I've also been pushing our team to make sure that safer infrastructure, while continuing to work with implementing the Complete Streets and Fatal Crash Review Team ordinances, is something that we achieve. Through supporting the efforts of organizations like Indigo, the Indy MPO, working with partners like Health by Design and others in the community, we have tried to be good partners to those who we share common goals. As it relates specifically to Vision Zero in Indianapolis, our talks have been deliberate and thoughtful. I think Councilor Barth spoke to that briefly, thinking about timing of this and how, from sort of a top-down approach, the thought was we knew that there was legislation being introduced at the State House. We knew that NDOT was pursuing some goals of their own and safety policies and potential grant funds of their own. We'd been working in concert for literally years with the MPO and launching the toolkit and the work that they were doing. And so
Well, it's just
I think
a waste
this
of
now,
taxpayer
sequentially
dollars.
sort of falls nicely in line with that vertical infrastructure above our local level of government. And so I think it has not taken months but years to get us to this point. And so I'm thankful for all the hard work that's gotten us this far. So next slide, please, Zach. I won't belabor this. But just let me say clearly and concisely in regard to Proposal 224 that both the Department of Public Works and Mayor Hogsett support Proposal 224 and are eager to continue working with both the council and the community to prioritize and advance safety in our right-of-way. So the slide you see here, and I'll try not to be long-winded today because I know that several members of the community have shown up to testify, and also there's already been 2 presentations, but Nathan can speak. Nathan Sheets, our Deputy Director of Engineering, is here with us this evening. He can speak in greater detail about the level of coordination between the department and the MPO in establishing the Vision Zero toolkit, and as I referenced earlier, using this and sort of, again, that vertical structure to inform our process here locally. Next slide, please. What you see here, Vision Zero recommendations, this is just some brief highlights of what most here already know, but for those maybe watching at home or new to this conversation, these are some examples.
What does that say? Road diet. So all of you that are wanting this Vision Zero, you will have less lanes to travel on, which means if there is a car that stalls out on this way, you're fucked. You're going to have to try and go around it, which will increase traffic congestion. There's not going to be having a second lane anymore, buddy.
Of the type of policy recommendations in the built environment that a
This is
Vision
just
Zero,
another 15-minute city idea.
ordinance
They
will-
want you to stay contained in their bubble. That's it. They want to eliminate. This is another step to eliminating cars so you can't travel. This is demoralizing behavior.
continue to
While these assholes drive cars, while they live in 3, 4, $500,000 homes in gated communities.
to ask us to contemplate and to prioritize. And you can see there a picture of what that change to the built environment looks like in a capital project. Next slide, Zach. This slide is meant to, I was asked by the councilors who are submitting this ordinance to briefly highlight, we've done a lot of work. Councilor Nielsen mentioned this earlier. We've done a lot of work just this year alone, and then looking backwards even further in prioritizing safety and updating policies and procedures, different grant opportunities, things of that nature to empower our residents. And so you can see here a list of a handful of things just from this year that the department has done in concert with the council. And I won't belabor these points because, again, I want to be mindful of time. But we're happy, or the team here is happy this evening to speak to some of these and get into the details on these if you'd like for us to. Next slide, please. This one I will belabor a little bit because I think this is important, and I'm underscoring Councilor Nielsen's point a bit here. You'll see here, councilors, and forgive me for members of the public that won't be able to see this, it's very dense, and so we haven't yet got it to a point where it will look pretty on a slide deck. What you see here, councilors, is a draft of a map that the department has put together that demonstrate the level of investment through the capital program in pedestrian facilities in what we've deemed complete street projects. And then also trails and greenways. And so as you can see with this map, though it's noisy, and we'd like some feedback from you all on as we're thinking about, to Chairman Barth's point, right, being more transparent, being more proactive in communicating the work that we're doing at the city level. Is this a useful work product? Is there something we can do to tweak this to help it
Cincinnati's
you know,
totally
more
over.
clearly state what we're trying to tell, the story we're trying to tell with this product? You can see here on the slide the type of projects that are identified on this map. And so if we're missing anything, Councilor Bain, you and I caught each other earlier and missing a project in your district. So if we're missing anything that you don't see, or you have any feedback before we get to budget as we continue those conversations, please let us know as we see.
You can't even compare Cincinnati to Indianapolis. They have like a third of the population.
Of what we're all trying to accomplish together. And just briefly on that, the safe systems approach, what you see here is one element of a 5-pronged approach that Vision Zero will ask the city and our partners and beyond the city, to be clear, to help not just change the built environment, but also change a variety of aspects of how folks use the right-of-way to get around, and the attitudes and...
You know how I know all these assholes are bullshitting us? Because none of them take public transportation to get to the city-county building. Maybe Jesse Brown is the only one that takes his bike to the city-county building, but all of them have a car, every single one of them. And if they were actually serious about Vision Zero, they would get rid of their car. All of them. Go ahead, just get rid of your car. You won't, though.
Expectations that we have for all users. And so just to name those 5 pillars, because I don't believe that was named earlier, it's the 5 pillars include safe road users, safe vehicles,
And if I
safe
am mayor,
speeds, post-crash.
If I'm mayor, anybody that supports Vision Zero will have to get rid of their car. And I will call them out consistently. Same thing with the Office of Sustainability. Hell, oh, you believe in all this? Okay, then that means you shouldn't have a car, right? Well, I'll tell you what, you can't work in this department if you have a car.
Here and safe roads. And so what you see here as far as the safe systems approach and what we at the department have control over is just one element of that safe systems approach. Next slide, please. So we're doing a bunch of great work. I just said as much, right? And again, we can get into greater detail during Q&A if you'd like for us to. But I think it's also important to acknowledge some challenges as we...
I will bet you $10,000 right now that this goal will not happen. Anybody gonna take me up on it?
We embark on this together, right? If in the spirit of transparency, we need to be upfront about these challenges. We all know, we've talked about it since I came on the council staff in 2019, that our road funding formula is inequitable. We do not receive our fair share of tax revenue back to the local.
Oh my God.
Here in Wayne County. That will continue to be a challenge. That will continue to be.
Maybe if you didn't want to have DEI training, maybe if you spent every single dollar on repairing the roads, it would make sense then, but you don't.
Be a challenge for implementing Vision Zero, and it will continue to be a challenge for maintenance of our assets. The age of our infrastructure, as you can see here, the bullet points, I don't need to read them to you, is again an existing challenge and something that we have to acknowledge. I was just talking with Councilor Evans before the meeting gavelled in, before Chairman Jones gavelled in. There's a bridge in his district that is unfortunately in a deteriorated state, and we're going to have to spend, we're not sure yet, but a significant amount of money improving a critical piece of infrastructure.
He's already been in office for over 10 years.
We don't have a choice. We're going to have to do that, and we're going to have to figure out how to do that together. Changes in resident behavior and expectations, I think we all saw during COVID. I know myself, I started spending more time at the park down the street. I started spending more time walking outside. Why? Because I needed to get the heck out of my house at the time, right?
But now you're not stuck in your house anymore.
We've seen changes in resident behavior and expectations then of what
you will own nothing and you will love it.
That looks like. And I think we've responded in some ways, right? Standing up a trail maintenance team for the first time ever.
You guys are so...
but we need to continue
Dude, you're
to
still
pursue,
fat.
To
what are you
change
talking
our
about?
operations and our budgeting and management of those assets to continue to meet the changing expectations of our constituents. And finally, the impacts of climate change are real.
Oh,
we talked about that
here we
since
go.
I became director last year in the budget.
This guy's
dealing
such
with
a
the real-time
joke.
impacts of climate change. That's going to continue to be a drain on our resources.
Oh my
when
God,
we think about
this guy's the
additional flooding
worst. You're getting
concerns,
fired day
concerns,
one
more
when I
money
become
needing
mayor.
to go into our stormwater program, levee and dam maintenance. When we talk about scarce resources, we have to be upfront with those with ourselves about those challenges.
Holy
and then
jeez,
finally,
this
the
guy's the
impacts of
worst.
development and use. We talk a lot about how great the economic development is in our community.
It's
we talk
not.
a lot about how we want a more dense downtown. With density means higher traffic volumes, means more opportunity for conflict. And we need to be mindful of not just those developments that the city is supporting and that we're aware of and conscious of, but I'm thinking about Councilor Gibson in your district. One of the first meetings I took was last spring when a student was hit leaving KIPP, a mayor-sponsored charter school in your district. And that was a school that went in without any input from the department. And so we didn't have any of the pedestrian facilities that we would normally try to seek when you're putting in a school. And so when you see that type of development, we're reacting, right? And so those, again, are instances where we have to build into that workflow and build into that capital plan. As Councilor Barth, just as I'm looking around and making eye contact, talked about with CI-70, right? So belaboring it at this point, but we need to be upfront with each other about these challenges because they're real. And we're only going to address them if we work together, continue to work together and continue to move the needle forward. Next slide, please, Zach. So that brings me back to Vision Zero, and I'll talk just very briefly about what the department has been doing proactively in the background with the support of the council. The department, through a grant that we had with the MPO, sought earlier this year approval to use that grant to seek a consultant to help us support the council's ambition to establish this task force. And so we have gone through the selection process. We've hired a firm that's a national, well-known, established engineering firm who happens to also have now on their staff the woman who stood up the Columbus, Ohio Vision Zero program. And so they are soon to be under contract, almost signed. And once that
It's a scam, total scam. This is just like Homeless Inc.
contract is in place, we'll begin work on a study on a framework for it.
Oh, it's a study now. So we're going to have a 5-year study, right? And then we'll have a 2-year plan. And then in another couple years, maybe we'll start planning on saving money for it.
So that we can
Total
hit the ground
scam.
running once this committee, once this task force is established and we begin meeting. That work product is due by the end of the year. It will include an analysis of peer cities and actions that they have taken to establish a Vision Zero framework so that we're not starting from scratch, that we're taking work product that others have done, using that to inform what makes sense for us here in Marion County, and again, sort of hit the ground running, to use that analogy.
Guys are so dumb.
So with that, I want to thank again councilors for all of your support always, Councilor Chairman Jones, Councilor Nielsen, and Councilor Barth for working collaboratively
Notice
with the
you didn't say
department
Jesse Brown.
to bring an ordinance that I stand in proud support of today. And
Then get rid of your
I'll
car.
turn
I
the-
guarantee
turn the,
this guy has an
mic
SUV.
back over to you, and happy to answer
Totally
any questions.
guaranteeing.
Thank you, Director Herget. I will lead it over to comments and questions from our counselors.
I can't
Cahill.
wait.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, I've privately acknowledged, but I wanted to publicly acknowledge the efforts of Councilors Barth and Nielsen, particularly for their very collaborative work on this, and I appreciate that, so thank you.
What a uniparty.
Councilor
Party
McCormick.
shill.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo my colleagues'
Man, she
comments.
looks like
Thank you for
crap.
spearheading this and taking the time to really get down into the weeds and talk to our
4
community
years, man,
members.
and this woman just got wrecked, man. I mean, for example, let me show you what I mean by that. How crazy is that? From 2019 to 2024. I mean, that's what evil will do to you, by the way. And guess what? She is the worst. Even Democrats, I have heard, do not like her. But she still won because Speedway is mostly blue, and that's how you win, is just being a miserable person.
About the importance of this. I didn't see my name, and it's okay. I would love to join as a co-sponsor. It's not just, it's every side of town. It's over on the west side as well. We have a school districts that don't have school buses on the west side. So I don't know if anybody knew that, but we have, there are districts in the state, in the city, that don't use school buses to get their kids to school. Speedway is one of them. And so
Because Speedway, everybody who lives in Speedway walks to school in Speedway. Speedway is, you're an idiot.
and we have our
You're just an
5-year-old
idiot.
kindergartners and whoever walking to school some days. In addition to all of the other things that were mentioned, I think this is an important way to go. And
You want to know why? Because they use Indigo as their school bus. That's why. So they will designate certain people who live kind of far away from school, and then they will give them a bus pass, and then the bus basically plants them right in front of the school, and the city pays for that.
Much a proactive and preventative person when it comes to any initiative or anything that I look at. And I'm excited about this, and thanks again for the work.
The worst.
Councilor Evans.
Fiona.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I too would like to just publicly acknowledge Councilors Barth and Nielsen and their work on this, and the Hogshead administration as well. Director Herget, I appreciate the discussion and the comments specifically about funding. That's something we've been
Here we go.
working on since
You can
2017,
cry about it.
2018. To Councilor McCormick's point just a moment ago about Speedway, I too grew up for several years in Mesa, Arizona, where I walked to school and did so safely without fear of getting hit.
Yeah, but how were the roads back then? How was the population back then? I also walked to school for a very long time, for like I wouldn't say 13 years, but up until I was 13, I was walking to school. I did not even ride my first bus until I was 14. Yeah, 14 or 15, something like that. And depending how close you live to school, you didn't need to take the bus.
As a co-sponsor, I think you all know that I always like to take every opportunity I can that the funding
Oh,
that
here
the
we
city
go.
receives,
Here
and
we
I don't know what
go.
that percentage
Blah,
is anymore,
blah,
of the amount of
blah.
tax dollars that
Blah,
we
blah,
send to the
blah.
state is
This wasn't
a
even. I tell
fraction
you what, you can tell
that we get
Hergy
back.
to stop
And it's
focusing on
ridiculous, and I
DEI
encourage all of the
training.
citizens that are here to continue to talk to their state reps and state senators, and those that are on the transportation committee.
Blah,
They
blah,
have to hear
blah.
from this city.
Blah, blah,
And they need to hear from the residents, because I'm sure that they don't,
Another
take
clown
too kindly
who
from
never
hearing
shows
us
up to
as elected
meetings,
officials
doesn't reply
ourselves.
back to me.
That said-
Another Slav who lives with his parents, has no full-time job.
Given the amount of funding that we have, and I think we've been very creative as a city to get where we're at today.
Why don't you stop doing DEI
It's going
training?
to take a very long time to achieve the goals and aspirations that are
This guy is
embedded
an
in here,
absolute
that I think
idiot.
most people
If it
agree
wasn't
with.
for two
So in the interim,
precincts,
I have
then
to
he would
always
not
say
be sitting
that,
in that
this
chair
is a
right
city
now.
that
But
10,
because
12
those
years
two
ago
precincts
wrote
care more
probably,
about smoking weed
about
than getting rid of
50,
property
60,000 more
taxes,
traffic
you have this
enforcement tickets
idiot.
than they do today. So committee members, those that sit on public safety, that is still something that we need to address. We've
Why don't you
created a
enforce the
culture in this
traffic
city where
laws
people
then?
feel that they do not have to stop or obey traffic laws.
Which people?
Just today, on my way here, I saw an individual run a red light in front of an IMPD officer. Now, maybe it's possible they were off duty. I don't know the circumstances.
You want to know why? Because people like you, people like Jesse Brown, have all made it very clear that cops are racist, right? No matter how much money you give to IMPD, but because of people like you, and you will still probably get endorsed by the FOP, just like they endorse people, elected officials who want to get pooped on by porn actresses, you're not helping them at all. You're not going to bat for them. You're just, people like Jesse Brown are just like, you're racist if you arrest somebody for breaking the law. So what kind of motivation does that give them?
But when I have individuals passing me in the center lane on West Washington Street, I just know that there's just a huge disregard in this city for traffic enforcement.
And who did that?
So while this may
Who
take
did that?
years, and this
People
is
like you,
absolutely something
Jared.
that we should be doing, in the interim, we need enforcement in this city. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to continue to point that out, because what we've done is to develop a culture
But what have you done about it? You have developed a culture
where
for
individuals
it.
and people in the city feel that they don't have to obey our laws. So I'll
Let's make this very, very clear, Jared, because I'm going to post this little clip on the city council Twitter when they show up again. People like you, people like Fiona McCormick, Jesse Brown, every single Democrat city councilor, they do not help the situation at all. When you have people like Andy Nielsen and Nick Roberts and Jesse Brown saying that cops are racist and whatever they do is racist, then guess what? That demoralizes them. The last thing that a cop wants to do is go up on a traffic stop, get shot at, shoots back, and then have to listen to people like you, Jared Evans, that never steps up to help out the police. You too, McCormick, have never stepped up to help out the police. Jesse Brown demoralizes them and say, you know what? I would rather not have my life ruined for this. I will do other things, but if given the choice, I do not want to have my life ruined. I don't want my family's life ruined. And people like you, Jared Evans, people like Justin Moed, who does not go on social media to support the police, when a traffic or when a a critical response video comes out, and it literally shows the perp pointing a gun at the cop. I don't see you on social media and saying justified when the cop shoots at him because he pointed a gun at him. I don't see you going out there and saying, yeah, that cop was justified. That cop has a family. He wants to get home. And then you had some idiot that pointed a gun at him. And guess what? Indiana FOP. If you are watching this video right now, every time I see a justified shooting, you will see me on social media saying it. I want the laws enforced. Jared Evans does not.
I'll end my remarks on that. But thank you all so much. You know I wholeheartedly agree with this, and we'll continue to work toward achieving those goals.
Councilor Carlino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with you so much, Chairman Evans. My comment is actually about the nimbleness and about how this department, our Public Works Department, has adapted to the change in behaviors. If we recall, even in 2020, when we all decided we wanted to keep our restaurants open and we all dined outside and we closed down some of our streets, and it was our Department of Public Works who came by to sort of protect those diners while they ate.
Hey, don't forget that the entire city council that she was part of, they did not want to reopen restaurants. They wanted to keep the restrictions on there. So her saying this right now is such a bitch move. She's just another one of the worst people. And I have the video on it. It's the very first video that's on my YouTube page. It was John Barth, Kristen Jones, Allie Brown, Dan Boots, a couple other people. I think McCormick was on there too. Where he's like, you know what? We got to trust the experts. We should totally let small businesses fail.
I formerly represented parts of Eagle Creek where the Eagle Creek Trail ran through, and that was a very, very difficult and unsafe trail, although beautiful and, you know, highly invested
it's called
in.
looking
It was
both
not
ways.
safe. There were box trucks driving in the middle of the pathway, and again, some of those barriers erected to protect diners during the pandemic were then shifted and moved over to the far west side to protect trail users who go across the reservoir. And so many things. You know, thank you, Chairman Barth. Thank you so much, Councilor Nielsen, and even, you know, Leader Lewis, who helped lay this groundwork years ago. This department, with you know, Tic Tacs and thumbtacks, have really done their best to deploy assets in a way that protects our trail users and protects those multimodal folks on the streets, but that we just don't have those resources. And so as I look at this map that you passed out, Director Herget, it does show that we're on our way and that we're doing substantial things, but it's not enough progress. It's definitely not enough funding.
You can give more of your
and
tax
so
money
those
to
of you who
them.
were around for Chairman Evans's bipartisan infrastructure commission years ago that began to highlight some of these gaps, we're seeing it. And unfortunately, whether it's Hannah on the east side or individuals that we continue to lose due to the built environment just not being conducive for safe use. And so I just cannot stress enough how much I commend this department for doing the things that they've done with a severe lack of funding. So thank you, Director Herget, Nathan Sheets, and those individuals making sure, you know, we have paint on the ground or whatever it is to make sure our residents are safe. And I know I commit, along with Madam Chair, to make sure we continue to move this vision forward and protect all of our users in our streets from the east side to the west side. So thank you.
Thank you. Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to applaud the efforts on this. It's a noble effort to put our energy towards. We've said the word funding a lot tonight, and I'm curious what that looks like. What's the budget look like? Where are the funds going to come from? And how will that affect our ability to maintain our current
Just give me a number. How much is it going to
infrastructure?
cost?
I'll take the first pass of this. So there's a couple ways of thinking about this, Leader Mowry. One is that in putting together the plan, like, for example, I don't know if you
literally don't even have a
you
number,
Google
do you?
the Columbus Vision Zero plan and look at what they've put together and
I just want a number.
the goals they set and then how they try to achieve it. It's really a set of specific goals they're trying to achieve over a set period of time. intentionally recognizing that there's limited amount of dollars that can go into it at any specific moment. So it's not a panacea where you're going to see a rain of projects come down all at once. It's more of a, let's take a broad approach at
So there's
looking
no
at this
real
problem
plan then.
from all these different perspectives, including enforcement.
Lovely.
And so I want to second completely Councilor Evans' comments, because I share them in my district as well. But enforcement is part of this. How can we work with IMPD as part of this plan to have a transparent discussion about
Support them
how can we
then.
get more enforcement? How do we target it? Where does it happen? That's part of the discussion. And so that doesn't necessarily mean there's going
Don't
to be
forget
more
that Jesse Brown said he wants to defund IMPD by 10%.
IMPD officers. We all wish there were, and we have funded it. But let's talk publicly about how come there's not enough enforcement, and if we can effectively deploy them, where do we deploy them to have the most effect around the city to have the greatest benefit? Similarly, there are other components of a Vision Zero plan, something that aligns, and Director Hergert already addressed it. There's work done that DPW does every year looking at where are the most crashes and what can we do to try to fix them. That's the work they already do, but let's have that public discussion. Let's say, okay, these are the top intersections where there's the most intersections. Is there a infrastructure corrective action we can take? If there is, let's prioritize those in the upcoming budget this year, and we know we can take those actions. It doesn't mean money's going to rain down or all these projects are going to happen at the same time.
So you have no way of
It
knowing
means
how
it's an
much it's going to
intentional
cost.
effort to take a multimodal, multiple strategy approach that we all agree on, and we all can align existing resources to do things differently. I will ask Councilor Nielsen to see if he disagrees or he'd add anything to that, and then hand it to Mr.
Second.
Hergert with the chair's support.
Yeah, and I would just supplement that to say that list of a couple projects on the fourth or fifth slide is a good example of where the department has been able to couple the complete streets ordinance with funding opportunities, like for example the MPO. I'm thinking about Chairwoman Jones. I remember
You
conversations
just took
on the
a
phone
very
with you
simple
during COVID
question
about how
and just
Madison
dragging
Avenue
it
just turned
out.
literally into a drag strip. And Councilor Barth, I know 38th Street. I remember having those conversations. And so Madison Avenue, as we head south, is an example of where the city now for years, right? And I think that's an important point that I want to make. For several years now has been prioritizing Madison Avenue for a road diet, where we reduce the number of vehicular lanes,
There it is.
increase multimodal opportunities.
There it is.
And then seek out federal funding through the MPO in phases, in chunks, so that we can meet the local match, to then meet the expectations of the community. Now, when all is said
And there it is, right there. He just admitted to all of it. We want to reduce the lanes. We want to make car congestion worse.
done, that started with a need defined in 2020-ish. And fast forward, we just received federal funding through the MPO for phase 2, which means those dollars don't hit until, I think, fiscal year 27. Lauren's probably cringing as I get all the math wrong here. But that's a 7-year window just to get to phase 2 of what will ultimately be a 3 or 4 phase project. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of planning.
So it's just going to be
There's all the
talking
utility
and
coordination,
yapping
all the
and bitching while
stormwater,
nothing gets done.
consideration that goes into a project of that scale. But it doesn't mean it's not worth doing, and it's something that we can do if we all work together, and that goes beyond just here at the local unit. That goes up through the state, the MPO, and federal funding opportunities as well.
These
So
people are
I don't know if that
morons.
helps as an example, just to think about it. It's not a sort of one-size-fits-all approach, right? The needs of Franklin Township are going to be very different than the needs of the near south side, very different than the needs of the near east side. And so we're going to have to work together to prioritize thoroughfares, residential opportunities. Some of this is going to be about connectivity for quality of life purposes, right? Maybe there's not a lot of conflict in a Franklin Township, but there's that opportunity to connect a neighborhood to a school district, a neighborhood to a park for quality of life purposes.
Oh my
I
God,
think
this
all
guy's
of these things wind up coming into play over time.
Let me go ahead and ask again.
He never answered the question.
What does the budget look like and where are the funds coming from?
Thank you. Thank you. Good God. You just turned a 30-second answer into a 10-minute answer. And Maori's just like, dude, you're not answering the question, my man.
So the funding sources are sources that you know well. The gas tax revenue, our stormwater program is one where we've been able to use stormwater dollars to do thoroughfare drainage projects and change the built
So
environment
nobody
above ground when
knows
we change it
how
below.
much it's going to cost, and nobody knows how it's going to be funded. Just say that.
As we disrupt above ground as well. And so it's going to be those same revenue sources as we move forward. It's going to be seeking out federal opportunities. But a perfect example of that is the RAISE grant, right, where we received $25 million from the federal government to do 8 two-way conversions.
You just
coming out
love
of the downtown
talking,
core.
don't
So
you?
those
And
opportunities
listening to
exist
yourself talk.
to sort of force multiply the
You
constrained
freaking
local resources that we
sociopath.
have. So we're going to continue to be aggressive in pursuing those opportunities when we think about grade
You
separations.
are
for
going to be
on
fired
86th
on the
Street,
first day
or
when I
82nd
become
Street,
mayor.
when we think about grade separations for nickel plate and 82nd Street. Nick, I'm looking at you. So there's a lot of opportunity out there right now from the federal government. We need to tap into that, and then we need to continue, as others have pointed out, the conversation with the State House long term about revenue sources and how they can be more equitable here locally.
Yeah, so to my understanding, the federal government takes quite some time to get funds from them.
7 years.
Which is a very big downside, obviously. So what we're hearing then is that these dollars would compete with potentially a reconstruction of a road project. They'd be the same bucket.
Same bucket, yes. I don't think it's competitive, though, no, because I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think when you're redesigning the roadway, you can be mindful, and that's the policy shift. That's the complete streets ordinance shift that we're now implementing, right?
Why are you filibustering
black again.
this whole
We're thinking
thing?
about traffic counts. We're thinking about who's using that infrastructure, and so when we rebuild and have
You
that
can tell this
opportunity to
guy is
invest
so
capital,
full of shit because of how much he's talking. A high IQ person that understands the situation, knows what needs to be done, does not give a long answer like this. That means Hergy is a dumbass who doesn't believe in any of this crap. And he's pitching this idea
we're
that
thinking
is
about quality
garbage.
users, and that's the policy shift. That's the transition shift. So it's not about competing resources.
Should I just start
with the pool of
timing it
resources we have.
every time he
It's about
speaks?
restructuring how we're spending those dollars and how we're designing. for
All
the
right, I'm
built
going to start
environment.
timing it.
Thank you. I'm looking at the complete streets and trails map you gave us. It seems that District 25 is left out completely, as well as the northwest side of the city, a majority of the south side as well.
I wonder
Are there
why.
plans to actually make this equitable for those areas as well? Because right now it doesn't seem like I'm going to be seeing bike lanes coming in District 25 or some more sidewalks in District 25, which is something we need. I come down Edgewood often, and it's one of the share the road bike paths, yet there's no room for a bike to be on the street. So are we saying we're expecting to see things like that in District 25 and in other districts that don't have those similar bike paths?
I would actually be okay with not having bike paths. They do not know how to share the road at all.
I think what I'm saying is that work product was produced to help inform what you want to see from the department moving forward in an effort to be transparent, in an effort to talk about the realistic implementation of this concept and the complete streets ordinance moving forward. So yes, there are gaps. There are gaps throughout the county, as you rightfully point out. And so we need to work together to close those gaps, but we need to be realistic about the revenue sources that we have and the ability to do so. Where we are today as a department, and I think it's taken a long time to get us here, and I think we've worked really hard to get us where we are, is we're letting data drive decisions as it relates to infrastructure investment because of the scarcity of resources we have. So as others pointed out earlier, when we're seeking out conflict,
Man,
and
no
seeking out,
wonder this is 2
data
hours.
to inform where we're
Good
addressing
God.
pedestrian and vehicular. And let me be clear, and I think this is something that we skipped over earlier. This isn't about just conflict between pedestrians and cyclists and vehicles. This is also about vehicular conflict, vehicle on vehicle conflict. We need to be mindful of all types of conflict. And so when we let data drive decisions, what you're seeing on that map today is where there's the highest need from a conflict perspective, because that map only includes the capital investments over that window of time identified on the map.
I'm going to lose my freaking mind.
That are complete street or
I
trail
really
improvement
am.
projects. It is not inclusive of all infrastructure projects. And so as you know well,
This guy
if you
just
look at
talks
the,
too much. No
map of
wonder this
all
meeting is
capital
2
projects,
hours.
there are
Good
capital
God.
projects throughout the entire county.
That was a minute
Yeah.
and 34 seconds, all right, people? That was that felt like an eternity.
You know, I think if you poll 100 people, I think 100 people are going to agree that they want to see an improvement like this that would potentially get us to a zero collision city.
It's never going to happen.
However, I would have a lot easier of a time supporting something like this if it looked a little bit more equitable for the whole city, not just parts of the city. I'd love to see something where we're investing in more than just certain areas of the city and actually putting it all over the city. I want to be clear that this is something that I think is a good effort. I don't disagree with that by any means. My only heartache with this is that it's not very equitable for the whole city.
I think that's a point well taken. Forgive me, Councilor Nielsen, I'd make one point and then turn it over to you, sir. Completely fair, Councilor Mowry, that there are gaps in where we're investing in Complete Street and Trail and Greenway, and acknowledge that. I think it's also completely fair to point out that the 2019 HNTB study that we did as a department that is well known to you all on the council indicates that to get us not complete streets, not sidewalks and bike lanes, because we didn't test that in 2019, but to get us up to where we need to be to invest in the infrastructure that we already have, including residentials, thoroughfares, secondary arterials, and residentials, we have a $330 million gap in 2019. And so where we are today in that gap with inflation, and where we are today, if the standard is complete streets throughout the county,
There's so many departments you could shut down to make up that money.
And so I hear you loud and clear. I don't dispute it, but I also think we need, again, to be realistic about the funding challenges that we have.
58 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Leader Maurer, I appreciate your comments, and I just want to emphasize that that's the point of the action plan. So the policy concerns that you have addressed, representing your district very well, those considerations will, like that's what the action plan is intended to do, is to reflect the diversity of the geography that we are in charge of governing and how we implement this strategy, knowing the differences very well between Franklin Township and
McCormick's messing around on her phone.
Appreciate those comments.
You see that, Jesse Brown? You see that, Jesse Brown?
That's the goal of this proposal, is to create a group of individuals from a multi-sector, from multiple sectors that would address this issue. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, Josh Bain. Come on, Josh Bain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Herget and councilors, for the presentation. I agree with a lot of what Councilor Mowry said on the funding of this proposal. And when we talk about creating an action plan and everything, if the action plan tells us that the way to fund this is for the state to change its road funding formula, well, we don't need an action plan to tell us that. We all already know it. One thing I kept hearing about as well, and Councilor Mowry was bringing up how this is not equitably distributed throughout the county. And then once it's brought up by someone, then we say, oh, well, that's in the plan as well, which makes me a little skeptical when it's not brought up to begin with. Where I live on the southwest side in the district that I represent, we have, I would say, 8, 9, maybe even 10 very troubled intersections, and it's all vehicular. There's really not many bike paths or sidewalks along thoroughfares or anything like that. What does Vision Zero say about those troubled vehicular intersections when it seems like this is mainly focused on pedestrian and cyclist safety?
Oh, I can't wait for this word salad.
That's a component. I think Director Herger said it well. Motorist safety is also a part of this. It's all the users. And the point being, you want everyone using the roads to be as safe as possible. And so the kinds of changes that will come over time, and I think we need to be clear about what's happening with the plan here, and that is that it happens over time. Again, I wish it could happen tomorrow. Everybody wishes that could happen tomorrow, but it can't. And so part of what I mentioned earlier is that the department already has a process in Vision Zero where enhance, amplify, and bring to public light in a transparent way what are the intersections that have the most conflicts in them now. And that's typically between motorist to motorist, generally, right? In addition to areas where there are high propensity for collisions that involve pedestrians and cyclists.
Should have timed Bart
How do you
too, 'cause it's
prioritize
just
those
as
and start
bad.
addressing those, taking those down the list? So to the extent, I'm not familiar with these particular nodes that you're talking about, to the extent those are ones that rise to the top and have to be start to be knocked off through the planning and execution process, they will be part of this. So it's not, I think conflating this chart we have in front of us with the future actions of the Vision Zero Task Force is sort of confusing two different things. These are the actions that have already been taken versus the actions that will take place in the future versus that will take place in this very intentional, public, and transparent process.
Well, I definitely appreciate the aspect that the future will not look like what this map is and what maybe the past decade has been when it comes to where we are investing in infrastructure.
I'm glad he pointed that out.
In the city of Indianapolis. Another thing that I've seen in this, where we were talking about road diets, on the southwest side, I have a lot of roads that quite frankly need to be widened because of increased traffic as the population continues to grow, especially on the southwest side. I think Decatur Township was the fastest growing townships, and we have other townships that are actually losing population. So I guess from one aspect, I can kind of see why you would be reducing lane miles in certain areas. Does Vision Zero also take into account adding lanes in other parts of the city?
That's a really good question.
I would defer to Director Argert on that one, yeah.
I don't know how to answer the question the way you phrased it at the end as far as does Vision Zero account for that. And so
exactly how he asked it. Does Vision Zero account for widening lanes? That's literally what he asked you.
For a moment, we can unpack that. But from the department's perspective, we certainly acknowledge that, and I think I said this in a way earlier, although I didn't get to the point that you're trying to make, which is every neighborhood's different. Well, every neighborhood's different in the context of some are growing as well, and so you need more capacity, and we certainly acknowledge that. And did we choose to celebrate when we received notice of the MPO funding this year, a pedestrian facility? Yes, because that's something that the community is talking about, it's calling for, and so we chose to highlight that. But I think a good answer to the question and informs the department's approach is that also submitted in the same year in the same call for projects was County Line Road, and actually an expansion of facilities for vehicles on County Line Road, I believe in Councilor Ane's district. And so we're mindful of change, and I spoke to this as far as changing behavior and changing density and changing need across the entire county. Certainly acknowledge this, and to be clear, the department's perspective is not that every street deserves a road diet. The department's perspective is that we need to contemplate use and design in ways that we didn't historically, and sometimes that means expansion, sometimes that means contraction, sometimes that means multimodal, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it means stormwater, sometimes it doesn't. And so we just need to be more thoughtful in our approach, do better scoping, and do better community outreach at the upfront of design, and then move forward with more complete projects that meet the expectations of the neighborhoods that they're intended to serve.
So,
Thank you. And then when it comes to
he didn't answer the question exactly.
Traffic enforcement, I've heard that mentioned a few times. Are we referring to having IMPD focus on speeding, focus on no turning, no running through red lights? Is it those kind of traffic violations that we're expecting them to start enforcing at a higher degree?
He's probably, if I had to guess, DPW will probably say, well, that's up to IMPD and how they're going to do policy and yada, yada, yada. We all have to remember the whole point of this is that this is, if you really want to do a conspiracy theory, let's put my tinfoil hat on right now. I think this is all being done on purpose so you could have more flock cameras, so you can have Indianapolis more of a security state where you say, hey, you know what? We're just going to ticket people from these cameras that are speeding, that are running red lights, yada, yada, yada. And because Chicago does that right now. And I guarantee you, you will not like the end result of this.
I won't speak for the council, but I will take a moment and say that I speak with Chief Bailey regularly. I called him earlier today to make sure that we touch base for the committee hearing this evening. IMPD is more than willing and ready to be a partner in this conversation, more than willing to participate, ready to participate in the Vision Zero Task Force, and eager to engage and learn what the expectations of the community are and the council are as it relates to traffic safety. I do feel it's important to point out that Chief Bailey feels strongly that their department does take enforcement seriously with the resources and the time that they have. And so I think that's an important asterisk there, an important qualifier there, because we all know that they're resource constrained just as we are at the Department of Public Works. I know it's an issue he takes very seriously. I know it's an issue that they have taken seriously as it relates to the pursuit of federal grants to allow them to have more overtime and do more enforcement. And so I know that Chief Bailey is a willing partner in this conversation.
About 45 seconds.
I appreciate that. And then this might be a better question for some of the councilors authoring the proposal. I do want to see additional police patrol and enforcement in the city, especially in some of these more downtown neighborhoods. So I do appreciate the council taking an effort to increase police presence in some of these areas. As a part of this, are we also expecting to see an increased enforcement of jaywalking as well?
Oh, that's so good. And I know where he's going with this, because a lot of these pedestrians are not using the crosswalk when they cross these roads, and that's how they're getting hit.
I want to be careful about saying, do we expect to see? Because part of, as I've been saying throughout the presentation, part of this is having this multidisciplinary team working together to listen to the community, to put forward what they say as what the community's priorities are. So for us in this room to say, our expectation is bing, 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 well, we can do that already. We can offer an amendment or a proposal any day of the week that we want to.
So why don't you?
This intent is to listen carefully to the community and what they want and what they're hoping for.
What are you clapping for?
And the
what are you clapping
outcome
for?
on the other side is what we, I hope, the council adopts and tries to move forward. So all these questions you're asking,
you could do that
they're all
now.
fair, but they're questions I suggest you bring to the Vision Zero Task Force. We would love to have you be either a member or someone who attends regularly, who's advocating for your constituents and what they're hoping to see. But to say, asking IMPD to do this, asking IMPD to do that, I don't know that, because I want to hear the voice of the community loudly and clearly when the task force exists.
Thank you. I guess.
What a jerk off. For real. So he doesn't have an answer to any of this stuff. The plan that Barth and all these other people are pushing for, they don't have an answer for.
I guess I'll just finish, then I have some other questions that I see won't be answered tonight. I guess if it takes passing a proposal like this to hear from the community, that's something you should already be doing.
Thank you.
Long before we just create additional bureaucracy in the city.
Thank you. Exactly. If your point is like, oh, well, we want to listen to the community first, then why are you not doing that now? That way, if the task force is built, then you already have the answer to the questions that Josh Bain is asking. I don't get it. I totally do not understand this. It's just what Bain said. It's so much more bureaucracy. Nothing's going to get done if we do things this way. It was like, oh, if we wanted to do an amendment or have a proposal, we could do that now. Then why don't you? Well done, Josh Bain. Well done, I gotta say. See, this is why you're my number one counselor right now. I don't know if Michael Paul Hart is out there watching my videos, but him getting feisty the other day is right up my alley. And I see Brian Maury is now showing up and asking questions. I don't know what's going on with the Marion County GOP, but finally we are getting something going on, and I love it.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was wondering whether or not I was even going to get on the mic and say anything, just because people said the most important things tonight, which is thanking Chairman Barth for years of advocacy on this issue, thanking Councilor
Shut up,
Nielsen
Smelly.
for running on this issue, thanking Councilor Cahill for running on this issue and fighting hard, digging deep into the policy and making sure we found a great result for everyone. But there are a couple things I was like, is this worth thinking about and talking about publicly? And they're direct answers to some of my counselors on the other side of the aisle here. And so I thought I'd bear with me for, I guess, a couple minutes.
Ugh.
So I rode my bike here tonight and rode first on 16th Street, which is a 4-lane road.
Don't care.
Which then turns into Brookside Parkway South Drive, which has recently been rebuilt as a 2-lane with bike lanes road. And for whatever reason, I guess it's just rush hour. I don't know why people are going downtown at 5 p.m. if they're not heading to a committee meeting, but they were. Same group of cars going with me the entire way. It's an e-bike, so I could keep speed with them.
Oh, you are such a fake then. Oh, I'm riding my bike. You have a moped. You should actually be on the street, not on a bike lane.
So we're not going faster than 25 miles an hour in terms of getting to and then through a traffic light. And yet in the 4-lane road, there were so many lane changes. I had to kind of pull to the side, almost got hit a couple times. Drivers looking, obviously, when you're up on your bike, you can see in their windshields pretty easily, looking frustrated, not having a great time. We get to Brookside Parkway South Drive. There's only 1 lane in each direction now for cars. People are still getting by just as quickly, but now there's no question about whether they're trying to pass somebody, whether they need to wait for somebody to turn. Everyone's moving smoothly, and we all get there just as quickly. So
No,
it's that
they
kind of
don't.
road design that I think
No, they don't, actually.
Vision Zero emphasizes. And then the question becomes, so, okay, that was created prior to this Vision Zero proposal. So what is the point of the Vision Zero proposal? And I think Chairman Barth mentioned a dozen times, but I'll say it again, transparency. I'm pretty proud that although I didn't take the leadership role in this proposal, I have tried to straddle the gap
Gross.
between the activist community and being a counselor myself. And what I hear very consistently at town halls in my district, on Twitter, and everywhere in between is that people don't understand what's going on in the city, and they don't feel that they're being listened to right now. I think Director Herget and all of DPW are doing a really
Then that's your fault then. That's the city councilor's fault then. And I'll tell you why. McCormick, I never see her at any of these meetings. I'm always going to them. Jared Evans, never see him at the meetings. Justin Moed, I see him very rarely, and I see him more right now because it's election year. But not election year, he's not showing up at any meetings.
tremendous job, and I've had the chance, thank you to Zach, for going, just this week, we went and saw the levee and trail maintenance team in action. I've gotten to take a ride along in solid waste. DPW is doing a ton of work all across this 400-plus square mile city. But if you're sitting there in your bike lane and you notice somebody's parked there, sometimes it can feel like no one's listening to you and no one's paying attention. And so I think it's vital to have these public meetings where people aren't just coming, speaking into the mic, and then that feedback's put into the waste paper bin, right? Instead, this is what is driving our policy. And so people's voices are actually dictating how their money is spent so that the city can continue to grow and prosper. So I think that when we think about this 15-person task force, the other important thing is that there is one FTE whose only job is to make sure that Vision Zero collects this feedback from the community and turns it into actionable process, right? And so always before, people are @tagging me or Chairman Barth or whoever else on Twitter just to kind of flail in the air hoping someone will listen to them. Now we are going to have a person with a name and an email address who is directly responsible for this, and this is their job. So they can communicate with other departments and make sure that people are being heard loud and clear. Now, please take
that's what DPW does. They have their own traffic team for that.
note of what I said. I didn't say you're going to get exactly what you want the day you make your complaint. But there's now a process where you can feel that there's movement between public meeting to public meeting, and so that's the way we're going to be able to make progress, move forward. Let me stop mixing metaphors. The last
'cause you're an idiot.
thing I will say, I support this wholeheartedly, enthusiastically, exactly as written, with no changes to the budget. And to the point of several other counselors here, I also support a vastly increased budget for DPW, and I'll be making that clear in our budget hearing starting next month, and I did in my earlier conversations with the mayor. I think that DPW and the city are doing an amazing job at finding resources wherever we possibly can as force multipliers for local tax dollars, and it's, well understood, I think, by everyone in the city at this point that we are getting screwed by the State House and by the formulas in terms of what we deserve, in terms of what we pay in already. But I am sick of balancing the budget on dead children, which is what we're doing right now by underfunding DPW. I will gladly pay more in taxes to avoid that outcome.
Then do it.
And people in my district,
Then do
by
it.
like 80 to 20, agree with that.
Then do it. Do it. I bet you that he will not do it, and I bet you everybody that's saying that they will do it won't do it. Nothing is stopping them from doing it right now. Just send a check to them.
So, again, if you don't want higher taxes, you could still vote for this. I support it exactly as written, but I'm also fighting on that front as well. Thanks.
So he is saying that you will be paying higher taxes, basically. That's what he's saying right now. Because guess what? Now, when you need to have a director for a task force, that's a budget that you have to account for. You have to have a salary. Then they have to have a team of people. You have to have some kind of IT department, or DPW could just do their job.
Thank you.
There's less people in Marion County than there was 3 years ago.
Thank you. Councilor Boots.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see what this fat
Just
slob
briefly,
has to say.
I too want to thank Councilors Barth and Councilor Nielsen for their leadership in this and their foresight. I just want to make sure we don't get caught up in trying to seek answers and a point of absolution with all the information. That's never achievable. We don't live in a perfect world. We don't have all the information at our fingertips. We're not sure what's going to work and what's not going to work. You think about it, you be bright, you be diligent, you form exploratory committees vis-a-vis a task force, you seek answers, you seek input, and you make recommendations. That's exactly what we're doing. This isn't a significant fiscal impact, in my opinion. As mentioned earlier, it's going to be part of the process. It's going to be the mindset when the city is involved in any type of project. You're going to think Vision Zero. You're going to think complete streets. When you redesign that intersection, you're going to have those issues in mind. So you can't just put that price tag and say, oh, this Vision Zero cost us $500,000 at this intersection. It's part of the process. It's blending in, and it's doing
I want to see people like Boots give more money to the government.
Right things the right way. So the idea that we need to know what's the dollar, what's the answer, what are we going to do, that's what the task force is for.
So we need to pay. This is how it works, though. This is just like Homeless Inc. We have to pay a study team to study the problem that's happening on for X amount of time. So now you have to budget for that. Then they will give you a plan after an X amount of time. Then you will have to pay another team of how we're going to accomplish that plan for X amount of time. And then finally we'll get to the actual plan. But guess what? That original plan now is different than it was, than it will be in a few years, because guess what? Things have changed. And so you have to keep doing this whole cycle of bullshit. Instead of just saying, this is the idea, instead of just starting now and saying and talking to the neighborhoods that Dan Boots and Jessica McCormick and Jared Evans never go to, and actually talk to people and say, what are the problems that you're having, so we can get all this data put in there.
That's why it's going to engage the community, and we're going to seek and explore.
You could be doing that now.
So I just don't want us to think we need to be perfect and read a point of absolution before we can ever act. I think that's short-sighted and very unproductive.
I think you're
so
short-sighted
I encourage
and
everyone
idiot.
to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader Mowry.
McCormick's on her
Thank
phone
you, Madam
again.
Chair. I just had a question kind of pop in my head here. We're talking about gathering and making sure that people have a place to have their voice heard and their concerns heard, and analyzing data that goes into this. How does that data how does that differ from the MAC? When we already have a place where they can go to express these
Good
concerns.
question.
How is this going to differ? Because, I mean, I'll be frankly honest with you that the MAC seems like it doesn't, I hear a lot complaints about the MAC all the time. I know they're doing the best they can over there, but I do hear complaints all the time over there. How's that gonna differ then from what they're already doing?
Great question.
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. So, the MAC, as you know well, Councilor Mowry, exists to service our constituents as best it can in troubleshooting and navigating local government. And so, obviously, from the department's perspective, if there's an issue with solid waste pickup, if there's an issue with tree down in the right of way, of course, potholes, things of that nature. I think that's the best use of the MAC. I think that's the best use of time for MAC staff and those resources. Where that doesn't get a constituent who wants to have input, who wants to learn, is thinking about what I know ultimately Vision Zero will recommend and task us to do, which is stand up a dashboard that will benchmark existing data as far as conflict in our right of way. But then also set then measurable goals, and there'll be then a level of accountability to achieve those goals. So it goes beyond the request and the things that I think
I would have an answer to all of
perhaps
this.
you're picking up on. Yes, there's a force multiplier there with the notion of a Vision Zero administrator and the task force and the opportunity there for greater interaction between the public and elected officials and those of us who serve in different capacities for the city. But this goes beyond that basic level of sort of.
So couldn't you just add it to the MAC already?
This goes into more of a policy discussion, agenda discussion, and transparency discussion. So I think there's an important distinction. I take your point. I think that in any exercise, there's going to be a little bit of duplicity, but I think that this has greater value than that.
Over a minute
Thank
30.
You. The other thing I'd say about that one, Leader Mowry, is I would say the MAC, the challenge I think a lot of us face in the MAC's a perfect representation is everybody in the city wants a solution to their specific problem, right? And the MAC is confetti in the air because it's everybody who calls in with all of their requests. It could be small, it could be big, it could be policy, it could be systematic, it could be a dog that's wandering around. This is the specific difference of, as I keep using this phrase, it's getting everybody together, prioritizing what we want to achieve, having the advocacy community, the administration, elected officials,
So
all
it's
pulling
literally
from the same
just
end
more
of the rope
bureaucracy.
on
It's a
sequence of
committee. It's a
solutions
task
that we
force.
all agree on and has the clear, loud voice of the community in it.
Yeah,
the MAC
I can't
is
wait
the-
for
is
this
not
to
that.
fail.
This is a policy solution that we all agree on, we all can get behind and support.
This is just going to fail. Just like the Fatal Crash Review team, they're going to have to change it because the data that they thought they were going to get is not going to get. Hey, we thought all these fatal crashes were actually caused by blank. In fact, it's caused by morons, and you can't fix stupid.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from our colleagues on the council? Okay, as we move into the public comment, our Madam Clerk has a statement that she would like to read, and she will announce the first few names.
No, that's why it's
As we
2
move to
hours.
the public comment portion of this debate for
Hey,
this
where's
proposal,
Jenna Ortega?
We would like to remind the committee members and the public of a few ground rules.
Where's
In
God's
order for
Batty
everyone
at?
to have a fair chance to speak and be heard, it is important that we each observe the following
Let's see if
ground
I can
rules.
save
Or
myself
if
some
a
time.
committee member asks for consent to adopt these rules, we can proceed.
Consent.
Okay. The first person on the list is Addie, Cliff, and then Addie, please.
Oh, I bet I know who this is. Yep, there he is, right there. Oh, Eddie Hager. Wow.
Eddie Hager, 2839 South Pasadena Street. I wanted to thank all the council people that are involved in this and has gotten this going. And I think for everybody in the room, we can actually breathe a sigh of relief for this. We're headed in the right direction. I think we've got the right guy on the team right over here because the people that have been there before got us where we're at now.
Oh, Zach.
And I don't want to go because we've only got 2 minutes, right?
Yep.
So I want to keep them real short.
Hurry it up.
But we have city parks, schools, businesses, community attractions, White River, that doesn't have sidewalks to them. They don't encourage people to walk to those. We have 27 parks that have no sidewalks on them at all. You can't go from the neighborhood across the street safely to the park. We need to change that approach. We have schools right now, we have 7 schools that are under remonstrance development projects. Sewers, roofs, siding, windows, gymnasiums. Not a single one of them is putting in a sidewalk. Not a single one. There's your funding right there. In 30 years that I have advocated for connectivity in communities, and I'll address this with you, Mr. Mowry, within reference to funding.
Oh, there we go.
When
You're running
I
out of
first
time,
got
bud.
started with this, I was working with Ed Ball and John Fisher. And all 3 of us was laughed out of the room when we proposed a rail to trail in Muncie, Indiana.
Okay.
That has now turned into a $250 million development that is recognized all over the nation.
I've
25
never
years
heard
later.
of it. Never heard of it.
The funding will come. You have to have the door open.
And who do you
for
think
that
paid
funding.
for that
You have to have
development?
the
Through
idea
tips, probably?
and the mindset to be open for that development to happen. We've not had that in recent years.
Yeah.
Is my time up already?
Yep,
Thank
not
you.
as-
Appreciate your time. I encourage everyone to keep the ball rolling forward. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful.
As I try to read from my iPhone, I was planning on not speaking tonight because a few of you have already heard way too much of me over the last week. My name is Cliff Marsiglio. I'm a cyclist. I've ridden with many of you up there. And Zach, I apologize to DPW because I for taking those down. People are taking notice. And I applaud the support for Vision Zero, but it doesn't go far enough. We need action today. We need action last year. We need action the year before. We need DPW to do the work, and I appreciate the work that they've done. I've got a whole hell of a lot more. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to hand you guys stickers. You guys. Oh, I think I did.
What the hell was that all about? Dude, see, this is why. Remember, that was the guy that ran for lieutenant governor last weekend, too. In case you forgot. And he ran for mayor, and he ran for city council. And he has me blocked on Twitter, which is very funny. Is this, oh boy. I don't want to. I can't believe Matt Pleasant is letting his wife use their children as political tools. Nope.
I will read it for her.
Can't
with
do
her.
it. Wait, that's a girl?
Unless you want to.
Oh
right.
my god. Alright, that's fine. We can't do this.
Okay, we'll have Taylor, Doreen, Anderson, and Leslie.
So Matt Pleasant, he's letting his wife trans out their kids. That's crazy.
All right, good evening, Public Works Committee members. My name is Taylor Firestein, and I'm a walk and bike program coordinator with Health by Design. I'm before you this evening representing our board of directors, staff, and coalition partners to testify in full support of Proposal 224.
Don't worry, folks.
You also
I
should have
will
received
be
a partner
timestamping
sign-on
all
letter
of
from our
this.
executive director, Kim Irwin, earlier this afternoon. I'm going to actually skip quite a bit of what I wrote, just for the sake of time. I don't want to rehash too much of what's already been spoken.
You're already wasting
So I will
precious time,
focus for this moment on the equity implications of maintaining
You're
our
wasting
status quo.
precious time, pal.
So areas with higher concentrations of persons with disabilities, young people, seniors, households without vehicles, Ethnic and racial minorities, people with limited English proficiency, and people living in poverty are often dependent on transit for most of their trips. As a result, they are more likely to walk than other groups and are at greater risk of severe injury or death due to.
Well, so he's saying, I think it's actually more difficult to use public transportation if you don't know the language of the place that you're in, instead of having a car. But you would actually have to know the language to have a driver's license.
To high-speed traffic and poor or non-existent infrastructure. Indianapolis's high crash areas tend to be clustered along multi-lane commercial arterials with long distances between marked crosswalks, creating hostile and deadly environments for motorists and non-motorists alike. Health by Design strongly recommends that a robust equity analysis drive decision-making for project funding and implementation, prioritizing the deployment of quick-build interventions in the areas experiencing the highest level of fatal and incapacitating crashes first. Although uniform data on crash victims' racial or socioeconomic status is limited, there is a clear connection which underscores the urgency of this necessary action. In closing, I appeal for your support of Proposal 224, a commitment to build a safer, healthier, more vibrant Indianapolis. Thank you.
Why are you clapping like a bunch of morons?
Hello, everyone. My name is Doreen Crenshaw. I grew up in Irvington, and I live on the far east side. Andy Nielsen is my counselor. I have cycled all over this city. I'm willing to bet I've biked in every single district. I've never checked that, but I will.
Right on the edge, probably.
I probably put more miles on my bike, about 6,000, than I do on a car. But Chairman Mallory, and I didn't catch your name. What is it? Josh. I think you two ask excellent questions, and I appreciate that. I hope you come to understand this fully, and I love when I ride around and I see a lot of progress being done by DPW, and I'm just amazed and happy to see that, and thank you for supporting this, everybody, and that's it. Oh.
Cool.
Thanks. I didn't need that.
No.
How's it going, Council? My name is Anderson York. I'm Councilor Barth.
Oh, that's Anderson York? Oh, no shit. So his profile picture actually matches with him. Okay.
But other than that, I am a child of Indianapolis. No matter where I've lived, we've always had some of the same rules. When I lived with my grandparents in Hawville, I wasn't allowed to approach certain streets as a kid because they were just too dangerous, is what Grandma said. When I went to Thomas Carr Howe as a high schooler, I lived at 10th and Arlington, and I ran to school most days. Emerson, Ritter, Washington were dangerous in 2007 when I was there, and it still hasn't changed. When I rented an apartment north of Emerson in Southport, I didn't allow my son to have a bike or really play anywhere other than just like directly in the apartment complex.
That's exactly what I did when I was a kid. My mom would not let us play outside of the parking lot, and she kept eyes on me at all times because even the parking lot can get wild.
Because going out onto Emerson and Southport is a death trap. And now as a homeowner in the fairgrounds, our son can't even play on 49th Street because we have Keystone that has a slip lane that creates basically an off-ramp onto what we call Keystone Speedway. And we get cars that go 50 miles an hour down a residential street. So what I'm asking is that we stop the generational trauma of our roads and what we've created here. We need to allow children to play in their neighborhoods and allow elderly neighbors to walk to grocery stores as they age in place. As Councilor Barth knows, I'll do whatever it takes to get things done for my neighborhood, be it walk the neighborhood, or I'll just go with be annoying on Twitter. I won't go into specifics. So let's move this proposition to the full council so that we can work to improve all of our neighborhoods.
Madam Chair, can I make a quick?
Shout out to all of you.
Madam Chair, can I make a quick comment? Thank you. I would just say Anderson is colloquially known as the mayor of 46th Street, and he's not a pain. He's an effective advocate.
Humbly accept.
Jesse is such a femboy.
Is there Leslie? Oh, Ms. Schulte?
I'll be up here later in the session as well.
Wonderful.
My name is Leslie Schulte, and I'm an East Side resident.
Oh, great.
I fully support
Why is it all the assholes are on the east side?
the adoption of this proposal. Neighbors in Irvington and Community Heights, no crashes are preventable. Last summer, around this time, we installed water walls, protections along the bike lanes, which, let's be honest, protect the sidewalks and the cars
Right,
and
I can't-
homes.
I
There
can't-
are 8,400 miles of roads.
I can't do it.
Crossings
I can't do
allow
it. I'm sorry.
at 10.5 feet
Of our one.
at 10.5 feet wide.
I can't
would
do it.
limit the
I
amount
can't
of
do it.
asphalt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Yes.
Hey, good evening, Chairwoman Jones and members of the committee. I'm Addison Pollock, Director of Community Engagement with AARP Indiana. I just wanted to say on behalf of our 105,000 members based in Indianapolis, including several of our volunteers who are here tonight in support of this proposal, we strive to empower Hoosiers to choose how they live as they age. And to that end, we support efforts that make our communities more livable and encourage everyone to have the opportunity to age in place. The proposed Vision Zero policy does advance these goals by promoting everyone's ability to move freely in and around Indianapolis in the safest manner possible. We've been at the table for a long time, since 2012, advocating for safer streets, weighing in on the Complete Streets policy, its subsequent amendments. We believe that accessing goods, services, and social connections, regardless of a person's mode of transportation, should not come at the expense of serious injury or one's life. This proposal sets in motion the practical steps necessary to address this daunting yet imperative need. We commend the bipartisan sponsors of this proposal and the city for taking this action to address what has become truly a public health and safety crisis over the years. According to the Pedestrian Safety Crisis Dashboard, there have been more than 1,500 pedestrian-related crashes in the past 3 years, 115 of which were fatal. In addition to that, Smart Growth America's 2024 Dangerous by Design report once again underscores that people ages 50 years and older are among those most likely to be killed while walking in their communities.
And why is that? Do they jaywalk? Are they using the crosswalk?
So this proposed Vision Zero policy will not only make traveling safer for vulnerable road users, as we've talked about at length tonight, but also drivers. This is incredibly important given that most Indianapolis residents drive to their destinations. Currently, 86% of Hoosiers age 45 years and older primarily drive to where they need to go. And as our population ages, it's only going to get larger. So thank you, and please support the proposal.
Femboy nationalism.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lindsay Hake. I'm a constituent of Councilor Delaney's, but I'm here tonight as a representative from Citizens Action Coalition, Indiana's oldest and largest consumer and environmental advocacy organization. I'd like to echo the thoughts that were just presented to you by my colleague Addison at the AARP. I'm so thankful to be here as an advocate for Vision Zero for a great long time, since before folks even knew what it was. And I work at CAC mostly on quality of life and quality of place issues just like this, designed to make life easier for all road users, all of us together, to make a better built environment for each of us, those who roll, stroll, one-car families with 6 people just like me, and others who choose not to have a car or who have to roll or stroll to school, walk to work, or enjoy their built environment.
Just shut up already, good God.
Thank you for giving me your time, and apologies for not signing up yet.
Hi, my name is Chris Holcomb. I am the Advocacy Committee Chair for Bike Indianapolis.
Of course you are.
And I'm speaking in full support of the proposal. Bike Indianapolis's mission is to get more people riding bikes in central Indiana. And as an advocacy committee, we try to make sure people can do that safely and comfortably. One of the ways we do that is by remembering people who've died on our streets. We held a vigil last November where we read the names of 39 people who died while walking or biking in Indy.
And so, what happened to the people? To the people that ran those people over? Was anything done?
That point in 2023, and we remembered the more than 500 people who died.
You could easily put cameras, and I'm not even advocating for this, but you could easily put cameras on major intersections where this happens. That way, at least you have a plate. I'm not talking about a flock camera. I'm just talking about CCTV, where you know what kind of car it is and blah blah blah. But you don't want to do that. You just want to have more bureaucracy, more bitching, more nothing gets done.
And at that vigil, we dreamed of a future Indy where vigils like that are no longer necessary. And some councilors were in attendance at that vigil.
You want to bet? Hey, you want to bet? I will bet you $10,000 right now.
For being there, and above all, I want to thank them for making this commitment, for putting this policy forward and dreaming with us of that future where anyone, no matter how they're riding or traveling or driving through our city, does not have to worry about risking their life. But I also want to say we hope that this is followed with the funding and implementation and infrastructure changes that are needed to make that vision a reality. When we survey our members about what they care about most, what their highest priorities are for safety in the city, they don't say driver enforcement, they don't say legislation, they don't say riding events, they say bicycle infrastructure, safe and protected infrastructure is far and away their highest priority. And so that's what
it's not pedestrians.
Our members want to see, and that's what we hope to achieve with this proposal and what's more to come. Thank you.
So these people would bankrupt the city. Just remember that. These are the clowns that you vote in. They would, if they had any sort of power, totally bankrupt the city.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I'd like to thank you all tonight, number one, for bringing this proposal forward. I'd like to echo that this is a huge sigh of relief for many activists such as myself. I'd also like to thank the Department of Public Works for the amazing work that they've been doing. I would just like to say that Vision Zero, in the same vein that OSHA was created to say that people should not be dying at work, Vision Zero
that is the worst analogy ever.
Makes it so that people are not dying on their way to work, on their way to school, to church.
That's why there's traffic laws.
To recreation. I'd also like to highlight the economic benefits of Vision Zero.
Tell us. I would love to know.
As our streets are redesigned. With an anecdote.
Okay.
My fiance and I live out on East 10th Street.
Neato.
We don't want to spend any time on East 10th Street. It's incredibly dangerous. And one night, just for the heck of it, we went down and we took a walk along East 10th Street by Linwood Plaza. And cars were speeding by at 60 miles an hour. This is a commercial corridor. This is
okay, but there's speed limits, right?
It's an area where people should be shopping and enjoying and patronizing businesses, but these businesses are floundering. There's high vacancies because nobody wants to be in these areas.
You think, you dope, you fucking moron, think that's why businesses aren't over there? No, it's because Eastside is a shithole full of clowns, murderers, and rapists, and Jesse is just the king of all the clowns over there.
They're hostile to the pedestrian, to the cyclist, to other drivers.
You think that's why, huh? That's why.
To even drive on these corridors.
Has nothing to do with all the junkies, all the crime that's going on over there.
To exist on these corridors, how can we expect businesses to thrive? So I fully support this proposal, and I hope that you do too. Thank you very much for your time.
Are we done yet? Are we done yet?
Jacob Morales. Thank you, everybody.
I like how Josh Bain and Brian Moore are just like, you guys are morons.
Thank you.
Mike Dilk too.
Anyone else from the public who
Please
wishes
be
to
done.
speak?
Please be done. Please be.
I'll keep it really short. My name is Amy Noel. I'm an environmental consultant in the city.
Oh,
And I
shucks.
just want to.
Wait a minute. I know who that is. Hey, just use Facebook, all right? You'll figure that out real quick.
Say how, everybody's talking about safety, which I absolutely 100% agree with. But this is also looking at maybe adding green infrastructure in the process of redesigning it. So you're increasing.
So what you're saying is that you're not actually married.
Or you're decreasing heat island effect if we're putting in green infrastructure that's going to be slowing down traffic. You're increasing the water quality
Yeah, I'm
by
sure.
creating that infrastructure like rain gardens and things like that could be incorporated as
Oh,
well.
you don't
Plus,
say.
it's aesthetically pleasing to people that live there.
Yeah,
So
that's what
I just
it
wanted to add that
is.
in because I hadn't heard anybody say it. So just
Probably
wanted to add
because
that
it
little
sucks
piece
and it's a
of why I
terrible
also
idea.
support it.
Yeah, all right, bye.
Thank you.
Go
Anyone
play with
else?
more stickers. Another one? Ah! Why are you
everyone.
torturing
My name
me
is
with
Brennan
this?
Sapp. I'm just a regular guy from the city. Lived here my whole life until I left for college.
Cool.
But now I'm back, and I'm
Awesome.
back stronger than ever.
Sure.
As a cyclist, I've been getting really into this whole biking.
Shut up.
Biked there. Other guy.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry, folks. I just can't do it.
Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Any final comments from my colleagues? Councilor Carlino.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who spoke tonight, who's taken some time out of their schedule to come forward. I'm sure I've been added on Twitter by several of you over the years, and I appreciate it. Eric Holt used to be a constituent of mine, and so thank you for thanking him for his work and advocacy. We have a long way to still go, but
Shut
I'm
up.
very, very hopeful, especially with the leadership that we have. That political will is incredibly important, and it's really, really powerful in this room when we combine those forces with advocacy. So, Madam Chair, I know you'll lead us in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you. Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You know what's super funny? Here, I want to point this out real quick. She hasn't posted anything really of anything that's really going on. And it's funny that she has a pinned picture of the husband that she cheated on.
I'd like to say that I agree with what the goal of this is. I think this is a very noble thing, like I said earlier. However, I have concern with the equitable side of it, and
Where's my fair share? I think it's all dumb,
to
but
steal
whatever.
a quote from Mayor Hogsett, I feel like we've learned more in 30 minutes than we could in 30 years through a bureaucratic entity. And for those reasons, I'm not a hard no, but I think tonight I will be a no because I don't know that we need another form of bureaucracy coming into the city. And
Thank you.
Rather, we just need to be able to have people like you all have tonight. And I thank you all for coming here tonight, be here, and show up to these meetings and let us know your opinion. This is one of the best ways for all of us to be able to hear your voice. And I don't know that creating another task force is going to be the way that we're going to hear as much as we could if we have people show up.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm going to be a no on August 12th, but for tonight I will be a no vote. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Hold on.
Oh.
Chairman Barth wants to say one last thing.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Just to wrap things up, and I know I've talked a lot tonight, so thanks to everybody for your
Yes.
indulgence. I just wanted to, the one person I didn't think is probably the most critical person in the room, and that's the chair of this committee, who has been in lockstep with me and Councilor Nielsen in many, many meetings over the course of these months, and has done a wonderful job facilitating this meeting tonight. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilor Nielsen.
Madam Chair, I move that proposal 224 be sent to the full council with the due pass recommendation, and after tonight's testimony, I would ask for a roll call vote.
It has been moved and seconded to send proposal 224 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Cool.
And I'll send it to the clerk for a roll call.
Okay, Cahill. Councilor Cahill. Aye. Councilor Bain.
Nay.
Nay. Councilor Boots.
Yes.
Councilor Carlino.
Councilor Carlino, aye.
Councilor Dilk.
Councilor Dilk, aye.
Councilor Evans.
Yes.
Councilor Gibson.
Councilman Ron Gibson, yes.
Councilor Jones. Chair Jones.
Jones, aye.
Councilor McCormick.
McCormick, aye.
Councilor Mowry.
Nay.
Councilor Nielsen.
Nielsen votes yes.
And Councilor Roberts.
Roberts, aye.
Well done, Mowry and Bain.
The ayes have it. Congratulations. We'll see you at the full council. Thank you all for coming down tonight. And we'll move on to the
We all
full
knew it was
council
gonna
for,
pass.
this proposal. Next up is proposal 252, which appoints Leslie R. Schulte to the Board of Public Works. Thank you for sticking with us, Leslie. You may come on up.
Yeah, listen, I can't. An hour and 43 minutes into this thing.
Thanks for having me. I guess I just want to say that I am a Marion County resident, and my background is in construction and engineering.
Why are you
and
talking
so
so
I
slow?
am excited to join the Public Works with that background, and in any capacity I can help. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. We have comments and questions from our councilors. Councilor Nielsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am in full support, and not only as someone who was fortunate enough to represent Leslie on the City Council, but also to be a friend and community member. Leslie and I.
See, this is the only way to get on these boards. It's just handshakes and hand jobs. Hey, you're a good friend. Hey, would you like to be on this board? Sure, why not? That sounds like a great idea. You never see anybody that doesn't know any of these people very, very well on these boards, on these committees.
Really started getting to know each other while working on this famous 10th Street Tactical Urbanism project. Now,
which is
a
dumb.
few years ago, that we saw the success that she highlighted in testimony on Proposal 224. She is not only an active and dedicated community member and advocate, but is whip smart, a PhD engineer, and the exact kind of leader we need to be elevating to appointed and starting there, appointed public service. So I ask my colleagues to support her nomination, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on her behalf.
Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe this is a question for Director Herget, but forgive me. How many women do we have serving currently on the Public Works Board?
Who cares?
There were 2 women on the Public Works Board at the end of last year, and then Leslie will take the place of one of the women who were serving previously.
So we just don't have. I can't wait. Hold on.
Susie Cordy is a member, and so Leslie would join Susie in service on that board.
Thank you, Director Herget. And if the chairwoman will allow, I'd love to be a co-sponsor on this proposal.
Yes, absolutely.
Dude, affirmative action. That's all they want.
Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for offering to step up and take the time to do this in the community.
No one cares.
As an engineer as well, I want to give you props on that. But again, thank you for taking the time to serve our community.
Anyone who wishes to speak on Proposal 252 from the public? Sure, come on in.
Yeah, just like Councilor Nielsen, I got to know Leslie through working on the 10th Street
Oh
Tactical
my
Urbanism,
God,
and it's a
really?
great project.
Dude, you've already
She's a
been
great
there
leader.
for.
I think it's a great move.
Thank you.
No one cares.
Anyone else?
If you are getting nominated, you're automatically gonna get it. You don't need to have any more support.
Michelle Pleasant, I also got to know her through the Tactical Urbanism Project. She also helped guide the George William PTSA through our own tactical
You know,
urbanism.
it's funny. Her and Matt Pleasant look like brother and sister. What is it with these East Side people marrying inside the family? I don't really get it. It's the worst thing. And she was also around during the whole Blue Line thing, which was absolutely awful. Yeah, yeah. Doesn't here? Let me. Where is it? And she brought her kids in to do that, and she tried using her kids as a political tool at that same time too. I mean, here, let's take a look here. All right, that's Matt Pleasant. Hey, hey, right? Am I not right? Am I wrong?
Project, and the work and the groundwork she did really made it easy for us to move forward very quickly. So we greatly appreciate everything she does, and I'm excited to see her in this position.
So, Addie second that. Councilor Nielsen. Oh, what? Oh, sorry.
Hi, Jacob Morales. I also know Leslie from
Dude,
Tactical Urbanism.
what is
She's
going
been
on here
instrumental in
right
helping
now?
me work with Bike Indianapolis and some other organizations on tactical urbanism projects of our own, sharing resources and knowledge and information. A very knowledgeable person, and I support her in this. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on 252?
Bunch of
Okay, Councilor Nielsen.
morons.
Madam Chair, I move that Proposal 252, appointing Leslie Schulte to the Board of Public Works, be sent to the full council with the due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded to send Proposal 252 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Leslie. Thank you. Moving along to Proposal Number 211, 2024, which approves weight limit restrictions on Mid-Alpha Road from East Washington Street to Prospect Street, and on Prospect Street from South Post Road to
I thought
South
of a
Town
really
Line Road,
funny
800
joke, but I
West
can't
in
say
District
it.
20. Did we lose Nathan? Nathan, are you going to present on this or no?
We just call it a night. Got like 20 minutes left.
Councilor Jones, Nathan, forgive me if this is incorrect. I think this is the proposal that perhaps Councilor Hart reached out to you
Oh,
about.
we're just going to vote on this. Okay. Sorry, forgive me. So Councilor Hart reached out, and you all should have a letter in your packets from Councilor Hart. This was from, he explained it to me that it was from door knocking and from a constituent, and that it was constituent advocacy from him, so you should have a letter, and that he just reached out, and that he has asked our support in this request. So does anybody have any comments or questions or concerns about it?
I'm losing my mind already.
Thank you, Madam
from
Chair.
watching these
I am for the
a-holes.
proposal, but also just have a practical question, and I think I've asked Mr. Sheets this before. On these weight restriction issues, and I've been fortunate to have a rate restriction added to a significant thoroughfare in my area.
Maybe you
what
need
are
to
we
have
doing
yourself
in the
a
way,
weight
and I'm not
restriction
saying we as
booth.
in DPW, but overall, what's the mechanism for enforcing these weight restrictions?
Sure, yeah. Upon passage, and assuming this gets adopted by the full council, we do have to advertise the proposal in the paper, and assuming the mayor signs off on it, and then it's
probably
essentially
will.
codified. I don't know of any active, patrols. Typically, the motor carrier division from the Indiana State Police Department, I think a lot of times you may see them have pulled over trucks and things on the interstates, but I don't know of any patrols that IMPD does from a weight limit perspective. So I think these are more driven by complaints. But we post the necessary signs if from an enforcement perspective there's a desire to do the enforcement of the weight limit itself. I think you had already previously mentioned weight limits don't apply to school buses. These weight limits that are typically implemented on these roadways aren't really done from an engineering or a structural perspective. It's more to keep the large trucks from traveling on these streets. From time to time, we do post weight limits for bridges and structures, but that's, again, kind of a completely different process.
And the 11,000 pounds is, as I understand it, it's kind of the magic line between an 18-wheel semi-truck in your local delivery truck or van.
It is, and again, the way the weight limit ordinances are written, if there is a business that absolutely needs access to a roadway, the way the ordinance is written, they are to use the shortest distance possible on that roadway section that has that weight limit in effect, and so it does allow for businesses to continue to operate if in fact they do need to receive those types of deliveries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Leader Mowry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I love the idea of weight limit restrictions on roads. We see a lot of 18-wheelers coming down areas in Franklin Township that they frankly should not be.
I know, because sorry for interrupting, the Five Below down there just on the County Line Road, I know that we've gotten some complaints about that, and I think we've implemented some weight limit restrictions as well down there.
My only concern and this isn't just for this proposal, it's for weight limit restrictions in general, is the enforceability of it, because from what I understand from IMPD is that they don't have jurisdiction over those vehicles. It has to be ISP. So I'm hoping we can partner closer with ISP to actually patrol these areas to make sure that these are being enforced.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Councilor Garcia?
Thank you. I did read the letter from Councilor Hart, and I know that it really took a really good look at the residential roads and the proximity to schools and the community voice, but I did want to make sure, being not super familiar with the businesses located in this area, if it would hinder any businesses.
Who cares?
In terms of their routing and their regular routes. And then maybe a second part to that question, I know there was an allusion to, or a reference to, parking lots that semis are utilizing in this area, and will this weight restriction essentially preempt them from being able to access those lots? And then what does that look like from a trailer parking perspective as well? I know, especially on the west side, but I'm sure it's countywide, that we have, semi-parking is an issue.
Yeah. So I'm fairly familiar with the location. I actually lived 1,000 feet from the intersection here at Midhofer and Rawls for 10 years. And that piece of Midhofer, I'd say south of Rawls is extremely residential. There's no businesses or anything. The northern end on that Washington, closer to Washington, there are businesses that utilize semi-deliveries, but again, because of the way the ordinance is written, it doesn't preclude them from utilizing those streets. It's more geared to prevent the cut-through of large vehicles. Now, as far as, it's a good question about whether or not it would preclude a vehicle from parking in a parking lot and doing that kind of overnight parking. I honestly I'm not sure what the answer to that question is. I could reach out to our legal counsel and find out. Or
I'm just thinking about routes, because like you said, if it sort of forces them to take that northern route and stay away out of the residential area for business delivery, I'm fine with that. But I just wonder if it is trapping them and getting,
Sure.
If you drive down this road and try to park here, there could be ISP here and then all of you.
Yeah, I think Midhofer Road is actually considered a secondary arterial. I think that the goal is to encourage, if there is the need for trucks to go from point A to point B that aren't visiting that local business, is to encourage them to utilize Post Road, which is about a mile to the west there.
You're gonna be
And I think
agreeing
that-
to it
forgive me,
anyway,
Madam
man.
Chair, I think those overnight parking lots are on Post Road, so they should still be able to access it.
You've
just
been
not through the
spending some
neighborhood.
time over there,
Thank you,
huh,
Madam Chair.
Carlino?
Thank you,
What you been
Thank
doing
you,
over there,
Nathan. Anyone in the
Carlino?
public who wishes to speak on Proposal 211?
No freaking way. There's someone who's speaking.
Please
Are
state
you
your
kidding
name.
me?
Hi, I'm Sarah
Hi.
Hales. I'm an Indianapolis resident.
Ooh.
My
Ooh.
major public works concern is that I'm concerned that Gaza has not had access
Point of
to
order, Madam Chair.
electricity,
Point of
water,
order.
sanitation in over 9 months due to the ongoing bombing.
We've heard enough of this. Point of order.
Please speak Proposal 211.
Oh, good God.
Sarah, please.
May
You've gone on long enough. Thank you.
Can we get an officer in
Where's
the room? Thank
Jesse
you.
at? Where's Jesse at? What are you gonna do, Andy?
Any other questions or comments from councilors on Proposal 211?
I'm gonna go get the
Madam Chair,
police.
I move that we send proposal 211 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 211 to the full council with the due pass recommendation.
That's
All
so
those in
damn
favor,
funny.
say aye.
That is so
Opposed, say
damn
nay.
funny.
The ayes have it. With consent, we will take Proposals 212 to 216 together. All right, Nathan, take it away.
I think that, okay, yeah, here we go. Proposal 212, 213, 214, 215, and 216, all very similar proposals that you've seen come before you. These are basically speed limit reductions in neighborhoods for neighborhood streets. So starting with proposal number 212, 2024, authorizes the speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour along Delaware
I
Street
can't.
from Penway Street
Oh
to 40th
man,
Street.
that is
That's District 7
so
and 8.
damn
Proposal number
funny.
213, 2024, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Heritage Park subdivision.
I've
District
done, like-
3. Proposal number 214,
Okay, shut up.
2024, authorizes a speed limit
What
reduction to 25 miles per hour along Redfern Drive.
Was it the last
Sherman Drive
video?
to
I've
North Avenue.
done 3 videos
Proposal number
in the
216,
last
2024,
24
authorizes
hours.
speed limit
I
reduction to 25
did the
miles per hour
second.
in
Which
the
one
Rose
was it?
Rock
Where
Estate Subdivision, District 22, and proposal number 216.
was it the
2024
other one,
authorizes
the
speed limit
Metropolitan
reduction to
one
25
that had
miles
the
per
other
hour
Gaza
in the
person? Are they gonna
Plantation
keep
Meadows
doing this
subdivision,
crap?
and that's
I mean, they
District 22
can't
as
do it
well.
at the full
If
council
you've got
unless there's
questions about,
public input,
those 5 proposals,
which would be
I'd try to
hilarious.
answer them.
You done now?
Any comments or questions from council?
And Jared Evans is
Proposals 212
leaving
to
now.
216?
Where are you going? You don't even have a job, my
Any
man.
questions or comments from anyone in the audience? Proposals 212 to 216. Councilor Gibson.
Madam Chair, I move that we send proposals
Look at this little
212 to
weasel.
216 to the full council for final adoption, please.
It's been moved and seconded to send proposals 212 to 216 to full council with the due pass recommendations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. With consent, we will hear the presentations of proposals 217 through 223 together.
10 more minutes, boys. 10 more minutes. We are almost there.
Yeah, so proposals 217, 218, 219, 220, 221, 222, and 223.
We're almost
These
there.
are all basically real estate purchases, and I know previously,
like-
I believe our
This is like being
legal
stuck in
counsel,
the car for too long.
has presented these
when
in
you're
the past.
going somewhere.
Statutorily, the department's required if we acquire, if we are
she's
acquiring
wearing a
right of way
tent.
for a particular project, and the estimated land value is greater than $25,000. We're required to present this to council, and so that's what I'm doing here this evening. Handful of different projects. They are in different orders. I think we've got 2 of them that are related to the Bluff Road reconstruction project. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 that are related to the Girl School Road project, and then we have a project that's related to in the Grassy Creek, kind of 25th and German Church, or 25th and German Church area.
Lovely,
So
lovely.
proposal number 217 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Bluff Road reconstruction project, which property is owned by Jerry Hornback. Do you
Any
want me to?
comments or questions from councilors on proposals 217? Anyone? Oh, Leader Mallory. Oh, anybody in the public who wishes to speak on proposals 217?
Come on, Gaza. Come on, Gaza.
I move to send proposal 217 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
We need another
It's been
Gaza
moved and
girl in
seconded to
there,
send proposal
lighting
217
stuff
to the
up,
full
make
council
it
with
an
the due
interesting.
Pass recommendation. All those in favor say
I
aye.
have done-
Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have
Over
it.
5 hours.
Thank you.
of
Proposal number
sitting
218,
and watching
2024
this
approves the
crap.
request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Bluff Road Reconstruction Project, which property is owned by Henry Arnold.
Henry, I know.
Questions or concerns? Councilors?
Everybody's losing their mind.
Councilor Boots?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we move
you have
proposal
to do public
218 to the
comment?
full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second. Hold on, I have to see if there's any questions
Yeah,
or
you
concerns
have to
from the
for-
public first.
All right.
Super excited. Are there
just
any
wanna
questions
get
or
out of
concerns from
there.
the public on proposal 218? None.
If
Okay.
Herbie would stop.
All right, repeat my motion. Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to send proposals 218 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Proposal 219.
Thank you. Proposal 219, 2024 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Girls School Road project from Perimeter Road to 21st Street, which property is owned by the Mayhart Family Properties 2 LLC.
Comments or questions from councilors? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on proposal 219, 2024? Councilor Carlino.
Don't you gotta do public again?
It's been moved and seconded to send proposal 219 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Proposal
Look at
220,
Andy
2024.
Nielsen.
Thank you. Proposal number 220, 2024 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Girls School Road from Perimeter Road to 21st Street project, which property is owned by EcoBat
We're almost
Indiana
there.
LLC.
We're almost there.
Comments or
I was gonna
questions
try and
from
do another
councilors?
video
Anyone?
for the Facebook, but I gotta wait until tomorrow because like 8:42 right now. PM.
All right, Councilor McCormick.
I've
Thank you,
literally
Madam Chair. I
spent
move that we
half
send
my
proposal number
freaking
220
day
to the full council with a
on
due pass
doing this
recommendation.
stuff.
It has been moved and seconded to send proposal 220 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye,
Opposed, say
aye.
nay. The ayes have it. Proposal 221, 2024.
Thank you. Proposal number 221, 2024 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Girls School Road from Perimeter Road to 21st Street project, which property is owned by Dayton Hudson Corporation.
Comments or questions from councilors? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we send proposal number 221 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded to send proposal 221 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Proposal 222, 2024.
Proposal number 222, 2024 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for preservation of floodplain and future habitat restoration work, which property is owned by Rudolph and Anna Ruhana.
Comments or questions from councilors?
Madam Chair, could I make a comment?
Yes, Director Herget.
So, councilors, you've heard us talk last year about a shift towards contemplating climate resiliency and contemplating.
Oh, good God. You shut up
dealing with the
already.
real-time impacts of climate change. I know that land use and conservation is something that this council
need to be
cares
fired.
deeply about. It's certainly something that our department cares deeply about. Land stewardship, urban forestry, those departments are within the purview of the Department of Public Works, specifically within the Stormwater Division. And so as we get into budget season, you'll hear us talk more about this and how we're going to begin taking a more proactive approach as it relates to strategic land acquisition for stormwater detention purposes, for wetland mitigation purposes. This is actually an example of that in real time, and so I just wanted to give that little bit of a teaser for what we'll be rolling out as part of our budget and capital plan conversation with you all later this fall. And so this is an example of where the Parks Department and the Department of Public Works, through our Greenway Master Plan, contemplates a potential Grassy Creek trail running vertically from Grassy Creek down further south into this adjacent parcel. And given that the parcel was on the market, given that there's a high potential wetland mitigation and stormwater
Dude,
detention,
shut up.
opportunity.
Shut
from the parcel
up!
that we
Good
are
God,
seeking
you are the
approval to
worst.
Purchase this proactively and well advance of a potential capital plan, because that Grassy Creek Trail has not yet been designed, nor is it funded in the capital plan. But we felt from a land stewardship perspective that this was a good use of resources to proactively purchase something.
We
as
get
as
it.
was on the
Okay, we
market.
get
And
it.
so just wanted to
We heard you the
share that
first
with you,
couple
that
of
this
times,
is slightly
pal.
different than land acquisition proposals that we've taken to you all, at least
Dude,
in
this
my
is
tenure
torture
as
right now.
director. And so to be upfront with you about that, and then
Yeah, we
again
get
to
it,
tease
pal.
a conversation
We get
that will
it. We
begin
get it.
in
Okay.
more,
Okay.
dialogue with you all.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Herget. Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 222?
Which is it?
Councilor Roberts.
Madam Chair, I move we send Proposal 222 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded to send Proposal 222 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Proposal 223, 2024.
Like
And
40
last but
grand.
not least, proposal number 223, 2024 approves a request of the Department of Public Works to purchase certain real estate interests for the Girls School Road from Perimeter Road to 21st Street project, which property is owned by Button Habit LLC.
Comments or questions
Button.
from councilors? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak on Proposal 223? Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we send proposal number 223 to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded to send Proposal 223 to the full council with the due pass recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Before we adjourn, I just wanted to give a shout out really quick. Over the holiday weekend, leading into the holiday weekend, to the Department of Public Works staff, I had a Marion County resident reach out to one of our committee members, Councilor Gibson, who had, there was a very hazardous spill in the area, in their alley, and reached out to him, did not know what to do. It was leading up to the holiday closing time. He said, look, I'll be real honest with you. It's going to 5 o'clock into the holiday weekend. Don't know if they'll be able to take care of it. But lo and behold, within hours, it was taken care of. I just want to give kudos to Councilor Gibson and to the Department of Public Works. Within hours leading into the holiday weekend, this mess was cleaned up, and she sent it to me. She said, I just please express a thanks to Department of Public Works. What an amazing team, and to Councilor Gibson for his responsiveness. What an amazing city that we live in, that going into a holiday weekend, we can get something cleaned up and to get a response. You just didn't say no. So I just want to thank the Department of Public Works for listening and not just saying it's 5 o'clock, I want to go home on a holiday weekend. But you took care of it. You took care of it for this resident.
Cool.
And she just wanted me to publicly say thank you, and thank you to Councilor Gibson for being very responsive. So
What chemical
thank
was
you all
it?
very much. And can I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
All right, awesome. Man, that sucked. All right, this is like a 5-hour one-way trip while you're driving, and you just want to get out of the freaking car already. Car. Yeah, it's got me all messed up. Between the Metropolitan and Public Works, it was over 5 hours of this since yesterday and today, because I couldn't do it during the week because I had meetings all last week. Thankfully, I don't think I have any meetings this week, but I'm sure something will change just like it did last week. Make sure to go over to my Facebook page. I will put the link in the description, and like and share my stuff, even if you just like it. Because I will be talking about these meetings on my campaign Facebook page. So I don't know what meetings are this week. They'll probably all get canceled anyway. But until next time.